episode 165 of the Valcast Podcast. I'm your host, no voice Caleb Peng. And I'm joined by TV Steve and HurricaneKaz. I apologize ahead of time, like I said. My voice is gone a little bit, and I'm also a little bit under the weather, just like Steve is. But how are you two doing?
I'm doing great by comparison.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't go anywhere this weekend, and I feel fine.
Not doing too bad.
That makes one of us.
Yeah, exactly. I was feeling super healthy until leaving Hawaii, and then I've sort of got home, and it's like, okay, I think we're in that post-event crash. But Caleb, have we seriously already scared off a co-host? Is that what I'm seeing?
That's right. After a terrible finish in the draft, it's gone.
Yes, at least it wasn't me. That's all I want to say is at least I wasn't last.
If you all tuned into our episode last week, man, Tristan had the cream of the crop on his team, right? He had the Doombug, he had the Colin Six, the Lyle Jazz, right? He had all these big name players, all these champions. And what happened? What happened, Tristan? What happened?
The world championship stage happened.
That's right. We'll go into that too. No, for an update for you all, Tristan is actually still in Hawaii for a little extended vacation. So because I think sorry, there's some fruit fly flying around. But he got there probably right before World started, so he's going to stay a few days extra. I got there a few days before, so that's why I'm back right after Worlds. But yeah, he doesn't have a computer there, so he can't really join in on the call. But he's going to be a little disappointed he can't be a part of the moveset updates, but maybe he's also grateful that he's not going to be a part of his roasting of his draft. I'm just kidding. Next week we'll still roast him on the draft. Come on,
you've dodged nothing.
He did ask us, in his defense, he also did ask us to wait to talk about the move updates. But first of all, come on, Tristan. and then second of all, I believe someone told him to find a computer.
Yeah, I don't know who that someone would be, but sounds like a great words of advice, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's just get into it because there's a lot to talk about. We're recording this on the Tuesday right after Worlds, so 2 days after World Championships ended. But yeah, let's just, I guess, general thoughts too, because I know, Kaz, you probably tuned in for all of it or most of it, right?
Yeah, I was able to tune in all of day one. Like, I just sat in front of my TV.
I saw you tweet about it too.
Yeah, one of my locals came over and we watched it together. Day two, I was kind of in and out because I had to work a bunch. And then I did tune into the final, which was incredible.
Yeah. Did you stay for the moveset updates at the end of day one?
I did. I was peer pressured into it. My local friend went home, and I had
1 a.m. at that point.
Yeah. No, it was like 2 by that point that they were.
Wow.
But I had a bunch of people who were staying up late online who were adding on to the peer pressure. Like, come on, we can do it.
That's right.
So yeah, I stayed up to see how that would shake out, and I was not disappointed.
Yeah, another thing about it, the Europeans probably had it probably the worst, right, in terms of time zone, because they were like almost like a 12-hour difference, I would guess.
Yeah, I could stay up late and just regret it in the morning, but I think the Europeans were just like, no, I go to bed.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty rough for Europeans on all fronts. You know, they had to fly in quite a distance as well. Like, even Australia is usually sucky, but Hawaii is not that bad in comparison. So
That's true. Not that bad, but still a long flight. What was the flight length? You said 10 hours?
Yeah, it was 10 hours. Although, I will say, I kept saying that, but I was also with Debbie Pebble all weekend, and she had to come in from Perth. So she had an extra 6-hour flight across the country to then get the 10-hour flight. So, some of us had it better than others.
If my unspoken segment is roasting Palmer's up, your unspoken segment is roasting Debbie Pebble in Perth.
Look,
it's mostly
just
Perth, but
it's
my proximity is Debbie Pebble, right? Because she's the only one that I know that lives there. So
I don't think you're directing it at Debbie, but by saying
also
Perth, you're kind of.
Yeah.
Also, not
Secretly.
my fault that she lives 6 hours further away. I'm just, it's not that bad over this side of the coast where most of us live. So
Yeah.
something to think about.
The best part about that is we're bound to see another comment or YouTube video down the road from Debbie because of all the slander. So I look forward to reading that in a
Hey,
future
Yeah.
episode.
We'll
But,
take the YouTube engagement. That's
Yeah. But yeah, Worlds recap. Kind of wild. A bunch of people just getting knocked out right away too, which was
It was absolutely crazy. Like I saw people like, like Axon, on stream. And I was like, what is happening in Hawaii? What are they pumping through the vents? Like what's in the water?
that's just Worlds for you. Yeah, Accent was your number 2 pick. I was wondering why you said
I
specifically
know.
Accent, but I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, a lot of big name players. I mean, Accent didn't do poorly either. I think he went like 2-2 maybe.
Yeah.
But a lot of O2s too. I mean, we were talking about how
Mhm.
Doombug might be the best player in the world, and he went 0-2 as well. And it just
Yeah.
happened. So I mean, he went 0-4. He didn't even win a game.
But
In terms of battles.
I think as you guys were pointing out in the ending ceremonies or whatever, I think Butters made a point of saying it. Yakai was at Worlds last year also and went 0-2. So
0-4 as well. Didn't win a single game.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, I mean, it can certainly happen, but it's still surprising. So I definitely expect all of these players that we had such, high hopes for, I definitely expect them to come back with a vengeance next year.
Yeah, I think, I mean, and we talked about this too, right? Like 25% of players are going to go 0-2 in the tournament. So, like, no one wants to feel that, but it's just how the dice rolls sometimes. In that process, even if you're like one of the best players in the world. I personally, I mean, it's just like a side note I mentioned before, but I think the game needs to be a little more complicated. I mean, I think there's definitely nuances to the game, but people have just gotten too good, and
Yeah.
there's less room for skill expression. I mean, obviously you can see skill expression, but at the same time, like, there's a reason why everyone's cheering so loud when someone leads Lantern into Skarmory, because they know that as long as you play it, as long as you maintain switch advantage, you're probably gonna win. Unless you're Marshall Galda, you're probably gonna win if you just have every losing alignment on every corner of the matchup.
Well, I would also argue that that's why it's so exciting when anyone brings something even slightly different, like why we saw a lot of reactions to like the Whimsicots that were brought. And
Whimsicots? I thought there was just one. Who else brought Whimsicott?
No, there was Marteau, and then I think Magmar Man had one on his team.
True.
Yeah. So yeah, there were a few. And like Magmar Man also just generally brought like a spicy team, as he's kind of known to do. But yeah, that's why you see kind of a reaction when those people like do well on stage as well, is because you're seeing something different than you're kind of used to. Which is why we always get like that really big like move shakeup after Worlds, which will lead to the next Worlds like being just a little bit different than this one.
Well, I mean, I don't know if we've ever got a move update as big as the one that's coming at this one, but I do think that's very much the case. That I feel like in the grand finals,
we didn't see Gligar at last year's World.
Yeah, it was a big shakeup, but I don't know if it's this level of this is essentially PvP 2 in my mind, but season 2. But in the grand finals of this World Championships, Yakai versus Inadequates, it felt like a lot of the skill was in Yakai's team selection in most part.
Yeah.
Like it didn't feel like a lot of the skill expressed in that grand finals was on the battlefield. It felt like Yakai was just making really solid reads on what Inadequates would think was safe, what he would bring into his team, and it ends up really working out for him. Obviously, like, he played well. If he played poorly, Inadequates would have just walked over him. But he played really well. And this is actually a conversation I was having. I was in the they had me on for the World's intro video, and so we recorded a few bits here and there. And so through that, I sort of had the chance to talk to a lot of TCG guys, VG guys, Unite guys as well, about their sort of meta games and where the skill ceiling is, how this meta compares to previous metas. And what really was coming out of that conversation was just like, yeah, Go's really just needing a bit of an increase in the skill ceiling, because it really does feel like we're hitting it. And so someone might be the best in the world, and maybe that someone is Dunebug, but they're still going 0-2 at Worlds, and that can just happen at the moment. And so there were a few announcements at the end. Well, I guess one announcement at the end of the World Championships in the closing ceremony that maybe, we're taking some steps towards the game getting a few more intricacies, getting a bit more complicated. But, I think we still have a way to go on that front.
Yeah.
Yes. It's Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, it's fine. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I agree. I totally agree with you that the game itself needs to kind of change. It's not just like the meta. It's not just the moves. It's like the way we play has to kind of change a little bit in order for there to be more evidence of more skill to demonstrate, and yeah, I think that some of the updates teased, aside from just the moves themselves, are hinting that they are, starting to really look into that. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I think one of the toughest things with this game is you could play a game perfectly and still lose, which is kind of wild, right? If you think about it, if you think about any other game, if you play a game perfectly, you're probably gonna win in most situations. But there's a lot of games for Pokemon Go where you play it absolutely perfectly and you just can't win because you didn't have the right matchup or for that specific game, for that specific line of 3, and you can make every catch possible or shield
I'm
everything
also
properly and still not do it.
I'm also snickering at that because that's almost word for word a Captain Picard quote from Star Trek season 1 of Next Generation.
I guess Star Trek plagiarized me,
He's talking about how that's how life is, it's you can do a lot of things perfectly and you still lose, in some way. So
that's kind of dark.
Yeah.
Just Star Trek things. I do think
it's real.
Yeah, apparently. I feel like we're jumping around a little bit, but in the move updates as well, there is one of the announcements is the move to a 50-second switch timer instead of a 60-second switch timer.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that does open the door a little bit to potentially a little bit more, less hard RPS, just lock in, can't do anything about it because you're going to be able to get out of matchups a little bit quicker. There's a bit more room for skill, I think. I think it does slightly raise the skill ceiling, which is good.
Increase the amount of sack swaps in general because there's so many times where you're a second away from swapping, you just can't, right? So that does help. 10 seconds is a long time, actually.
Well, I'm remembering now a conversation I had with my friend a few years ago, one of my more casual player friends, who was kind of curious about PvP, and she was like, I think what she asked me, she was like, what's something that feels kind of like cheating but isn't? And my answer was well, obviously counting moves, because if you're not if you're not aware, if you're not aware,
what a bunch of dirty cheaters at Worlds.
Yeah, I know. Well, because if you think about it from her perspective and from people who might just be getting into PvP, it's you're not necessarily keeping track all the time about whose energy is at where, or how close they are to a move. So if you're kind of in a match with someone in GBL, let's say, and they're able to do that sacrificial swap perfectly, you're kind of well, how did you know? So that's something that a lot of people who aren't really aware of might feel like you're somehow aware of things that they're not, and you kind of are, but it's not cheating. It's just knowledge of how to play the game. And the 50-second timer, I think, is going to start encouraging people to get more familiar with that skill, if they haven't already.
Yeah definitely. Yeah, it's a lot of things that might feel like cheating for sure when you're up against someone that knows what they're doing. But speaking of people that know what they're doing, let's break down maybe the top finishers, maybe top 13 or so of Worlds. But we had Yakai, obviously, if you haven't seen it, so slight spoiler alert, but Yakai won the whole thing, 16 years old.
Yeah.
Kid from Hong Kong, kind of wild. Only
He
player from
almost
Hong
didn't.
Kong, I think.
He almost didn't come because of school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But he got the travel award. He won first, so he
Mhm.
decided to give it a shot. And I get it too, because especially if he went 0-2 last year at Worlds, like could be a little. You might think, oh, maybe this is not like the best use of my time, right?
Mhm.
It's a long ways away. I mean, it's much further for Yakai than Japan was, right? And let me
Mm.
see who actually Yakai faced off against. Yakai 0904. Yeah, so last year went 0-2 against Auburn and then 0-2 against Teddiness. I
Mm.
believe Teddiness is a Korean player. Wait, Teddiness I think is. Oh no, sorry. Yeah,
Germany, right?
no. Teddiness is the second place finisher of Thailand,
Oh, okay.
the Thailand playoffs. And I believe he just came second to BJ. I think came second to BJ again this year too, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, definitely solid player. I think like one of BJ's main rivals. But anyway, yeah. So not the yeah, uh, tough matchup for sure. But
Yeah, but then
that was
this
a
year,
good game
came
this year.
came back through and took down Nighttime Clasher and Lankern and Galax
Mhm.
Bolton, LNDS Steiner, Kaivon Beelzeboy, Logan Rocket, Mardo Galde, and then Inadequates, obviously, at the
Yeah.
very end in that second place
So
spot.
wild. What a wild run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, never
Second
dropping a
place,
match.
not dropping a match. Yeah, second place Inadequates. Obviously everyone. I think most people know him. If you don't, you should probably Google him. Marco Galde, third place. From Latam. Beelzeboy, from India, APAC region. First ever Worlds as well, actually. And the India qualifier champion. So
Mhm.
I'm sure a lot of our Indian players were definitely rooting him on, and maybe a lot of APAC players and just people around the world too. I mean, he's played in like Silk factions, in like NA as well too. That's how I first heard of him. Logan
Mhm.
Rocket from EU, fifth. Out of Pocket from NA, sixth NAIC champion. We got tied for seventh was PP David, European player, which was on my draft list, but decided not. I didn't end up having room to pick him up. I should have. Racha Babyface, who Steve should have known better, winning his Clash of Casters tournament and
Yeah.
top 7. That's
Yeah.
1,200 points you just gave up right there.
Well, I mean, in the tournament that we actually had the Clash of the Casters Grand Finals rematch with Russia Babyface
Yeah,
versus
we did.
Inadequates.
When I was watching, I was like, damn. I was like, this is wild. These guys are actually just good. They didn't get lucky.
Yeah.
Bopper, uh, Roberto, C2U, and Tomahawk all tied for ninth. And we had Arceus Aurelius, Bassi, Onion, Frank, and Z Suarez tied for 13th. And then, it just kind of trickles down from there. Our fellow co-caster, Twastell, tied for 49th. Not bad.
Mhm.
Not too shabby for someone that doesn't like practice or scrim or did a single fight tournament. Like, I don't know what he's on, like
Yeah.
just play some practice tournaments or something, my guy. I think he was going to steal my team that I ran at my local, but
Mm.
I don't know if he actually did or not. But yeah, my other fellow co-caster from the past, Anacor, he did a strong 0-2 finish. But hey, he tied with Doombug, one of the best players in the world. So not too shabby. Not too shabby. Let's do before we do the points breakdown, let me tell you all a story. So remember how I said how one of my locals had this Boston Cresselia, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna say the person because all the movesets are changing at this point, so the matchups aren't even going to be the same, right? But when I said like how their only answer to Say Swap and Nihilus was like a Charger Buck and a Cresselia, so I was like, Say Swap and Nihilus is pretty good. And I hard lost the lead, I Say Swapped it, right? There's a few episodes I mentioned this, and I landed as Shadow Ball. I'm one counter head, obviously, into Cresselia, and they're running Moonblast Grass Knot. So I'm thinking I should just win, right? I should just be able to like throw an Ice Slash and counter down afterward. And he goes straight Moonblast. No debuffs either, right? And I shield because I thought it could have been bait. I was like, if this is bait, it's kind of annoying. But it ends up being Moonblast. I shield. He goes Moonblast again. I shield again. And I'm going straight Night Slash. He's shielding my Night Slashes. And for some reason, I'm thinking, I should have this game won, right? I feel like I've seen this in Sims. And he gets to a third moonblast. He doesn't go grass side. He goes straight moonblast. I'm doing the math in my head. I'm like, what? Like, how's this happening? Right. And so I talked about this on a previous episode. Well, so fast forward to last weekend. So Anacor and his brother HurricaneKaz were staying with me. I'm telling them this story too, right? On Friday. And they're both roasting me. They're like, it's like, yeah, because you don't got that counter break point, Caleb, right? You hating on break points and that hurt you against Cruzeiro. I was like, shoot, really? It's like, yeah, there's a counter break point and everything. I was like, oh. It's like, man, maybe that's why. The next day, we all go to a local challenge of mine. And we're playing and stuff. I actually matched up against HurricaneKaz round 1 too. It was probably my closest match actually, all throughout the whole tournament. But
did you win?
I did. Actually, so I lost game 3, but I got denied a counter on the final match. It was the Night Live versus Charge Bug, and I was one counter away from Night Slash in the end. And I literally said GG's, and went to shake his hand. He didn't shake my hand. He was like, "Did you got denied there, right? Were you about to get a Night Slash?" I was like, let me check. But yeah, I did get denied. I don't know if I was one away. I checked the footage and I showed him. I was like, oh yeah, I was one away. He's like, let's just rematch. I was like, what good sportsmanship right there, right? I didn't even bring it up, right? Honestly, I was just like, wasn't even sweating. I was like, all right, I'll just try to go, like 4-1 or something to make top cut or something like that. But yeah, it's a great sportsmanship. And then next game he just gets hard RPS. Like I like claws out into his like charge bug kind of thing,
Oh my gosh.
And had a Cresselia, had a Skarmory on his Cresselia.
It happens.
It happens. And I was like, maybe hopefully that gives him good karma for the rest of the tournament. But no, he ended up going like 1-3 or something. So I was like, maybe good karma for Worlds. But anyway, I'm sitting next to him, right, in a later match, and he's playing against one of my locals. And he loses. He's like, dang. And he talks to me. He's like, man, that was wild. I landed a Shadow Ball on a Safe Swap Night with Cresselia, and I still lost, right? And he's like, wait, is this the guy? I was like, yes, that's the guy. And you know who it was? It was the CTU. Yeah, it was the CTU. And
it all comes full circle.
All comes full circle. Mr. 9th place at Worlds, who had a crazy losers bracket run.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was a CTU, and I was laughing. I was like, what did that counter annihilate breakpoint do for you? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I don't know what he's running on that freaking Crusader. I don't know what HP it is. And Anacor be coping out of his mind. He's like, well, what about maybe he didn't hit the next breakpoint? I'm like, what next breakpoint? You need like a 500 attack, like annihilate maybe to hit the next breakpoint. There is no next breakpoint, right?
There's always another breakpoint. I guess.
Like at that point, you're going like 15-0-0. Yeah, you're going to just lose the straight cycle cuts at that point. But so it was just so funny because they were all roasting me, and then all of a sudden, the breakpoint didn't even matter either. But I bring that up because during the tournament, the CTU had one of the craziest elusive bracket run I've seen in quite some time. Especially because this is the biggest world. So like I think even Dancing Rob, it rivals almost Dancing Rob's elusive run because he didn't have nearly as many matches, I think. Right? Let me just check.
Yeah, there were fewer people at London than there were here.
So Dancing Rob, so he had a round 1 bye essentially because I think Stone Collection couldn't make it or something. And then he beat Rick Flareon, loses to Lurking Rocket, and he goes 2-1, 2-0, 2-1, 2-1, 2-0, 2-1, 3-1, bracket reset, and then wins. So he went 9 positive sets in a row. That's actually quite a bit. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Well,
so the CTU, he loses 0-2 to Zardy, but the crazy thing with CTU is he didn't drop games. Like he just went straight 2-0s after. He goes 0-2 against Zardy round 1, then 2-0's Jocko Loco, 2-0 HurricaneKaz, which is funny because they're a little rematch from the local. But the HurricaneKaz definitely knew about the Cresselia bulk this time around. 2-0 against DVS Daniel, 2-0 against Evan 777, 2-0 against Ventuski, 2-0 against Paulinho Tad, and then I believe 2-0 against Rise,
to Occasion,
2-0 against Strange Top, 2-0 against Arceus Aurelius, and then goes 0-2 against Inadequance. So actually, he matched the amount of sets that Dance Rob went like positive for straight out after losing. So 9 straight series in a row. But the difference is he didn't drop a single game. That is
Yeah.
absolutely nuts. That's what,
Yeah.
18 straight games in a row? That is
Yeah.
craziness. Dude, imagine being his next opponent. Like, imagine being Arceus Relics, right? Seeing this guy go 17 straight series in a row, right? Or wait, no,
16.
sorry. No, 16 straight games in a row, right? 8 matches, 8 opponents, right? A lot of them, almost all of them, big names. And then being like, man, I could take a game off it, right? And then just going 0-2. Wild. So
Yeah.
before he made it onto stream on day 2, because he wasn't on stream at all on day 1, I'm sitting there thinking, this guy's gotta be bamboozling people with that Cresselia, right? There's no way. I guarantee he's won. He's like half his matchups with these people safe swap and Nihilip, thinking they could beat this Cresselia in 2 shields and just losing. But actually turned out he didn't bring Cresselia, so this guy was just playing absolutely out of his mind. He had Cloud Side though, and he's been playing a lot of Cloud Side in locals, and he's been playing it really, really well. Definitely one of the better Cloud Side players I've seen in quite some time. But yeah, that was just a little funny story from last weekend. But yeah, again, a local mine, definitely the best performance he's ever had, just in general. I think he made like 1 top cut, I think, in Fresno, but like, or no, I think he made top cut at LA as well, but it was a bigger tournament. But still, yeah, fifth at Sacramento, 7th at Fresno. Right, so 2 top cuts. But 9th at Worlds is like no joke, and the people he was like just straight 2-0ing was just crazy. And losing only to 2nd place finisher in the world, kind of wild. But yeah. What a breakout performance too, and what a fun time that was. But yeah, do we want to take a look at our point totals and see how we did?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, want is a strong word.
yeah. Steve's like, yeah,
I'm
sure,
pretty happy. We can have a look. That's fine.
My picks were just right. But so out of the 5 of us, right? So if you didn't tune into our last week episode, we drafted 10 players each, and then we have a point system. So I full transparency, I did change the point system a little bit. I didn't even tell Kaz and Steve this, and definitely not Tristan. But originally it was like we had like point proposals for like placements and adding up to see who did the best, and we did this like based off of like IC points, but like doubling it, and like we made a few adjustments here or there. But it's 2,000 for first place, 1,500, 1,300, 1,350, 1,250, as we're cascading down the points. 1,200 for 5 through 8, 800 for 9 through 16. And then it was originally, for some reason, 700 for 17 through 32. And it drops off significantly into like less than half of that, 250 for 33 to 64. So I changed it. So instead of 800, 700, it went from 800 for 9 through 16 to 500 for 17 to 32, and then half of that for the next one, which I thought was fair. And I did this change before I calculated score, so I don't actually know if it even changed any values. I don't think it did.
Hang on.
What these doubting? Sorry.
Okay,
look, if you want to calculate the difference, you can, right? But I mean, I didn't even win this thing, so like I have nothing at stake. Yeah,
I'm going to assume it,
and at least I didn't lose. So
that's true. Yeah, so I don't think.
Yeah, maybe if we calculate this. Okay. Honestly, the easiest way to do it is anyone that got 500 points should get 200 points more. So Tristan would have 2,000.
Okay. I would only have 200
extra, more.
So I don't think it would.
Yeah, so you have changed.
Wait.
Yeah. Kaz would have 200 extra. No. I would have 200 extra. No. Steve would have 200 extra. No, it literally didn't make a difference. Every one of us had one 500 pointer, so it actually made zero difference.
Fine.
All right.
You're just trying to bamboozle me with numbers.
Bamboozle you. You have a 1,750 point difference, Kaz. What's this extra 200 going to do for you? If anything, there's a greater chance that Tristan would have caught up to you than anything else, right? Anyway, let's go with these points.
Okay, let's go bottom to top.
Yeah, let's go bottom to top. Yeah, I think that makes sense because we don't want the point discrepancy to look too big between Tristan and the number 1 player, number 1 drafter. But so Tristan, I also put a number of like how many players actually earn points because anything below 65th place is got no points, right? Because otherwise there's too much calculating, and also maybe not won't mean as much. But Tristan predicted 4 players correctly that earned points, and he got a total of 1,800 points. He got Colin 6, got 500 points, which was in that He was in that
It was
top
17th.
6, 17th, right? 17th and 25th tied were all like the same points, but he was 17th.
Yeah.
We had Abhinav, who was in that 33rd spot.
Yep.
Tomahawk, which was his star for his one, got tied for 9th, I should say, right in that Shadow Bastion. And then a Mind Joke was, I believe, tied for 49th. He should have put himself on there, man. That's a free 250 points he missed out on.
We tried to tell him.
Yeah. It was like, should have believed in himself. But
Yeah,
I mean, it literally wouldn't have changed his point total if he put himself as 10th.
Well, unless
if
he slotted
unless he picked himself instead
over
of
one of any of
one of his other
Doombug,
6.
Loudchefs, Potamons, Zardi,
Yeah.
Elam, or Auburn. Yeah.
Imagine the confidence though to like go, nah, screw that Doombug guy. I'm putting
Yeah.
Twastell.
Honestly, that would be even.
I
that would
believe. I believe in me.
That would have been a big thing because not only would he get 250 points, he would guarantee someone else picks up Doombug and doesn't get points. So he might even drop someone else's total, and he would have tied with Kaz actually if he did that. But anyway, speaking of Kaz came in right on
top of Tristan. Yeah, and so I had 5. I predicted 5 correctly. Paulasha, who was 500 points. So which tier is that?
She got she made top cut on day 2.
Yeah.
She was 17.
She got 25th.
17.
Yeah, tied for 25th. Yeah,
tied for 25th.
Yeah, 17th and 25th have 25 have the same point totals.
Yeah. And I also, my biggest winner was Z's Wireless, who is
that Shadow Gyarados was insane.
Yeah,
I told them too. I was like, look, that pick was actually genius because in a Water Gun Lantern meta, that's actually really strong. You resist Steel Wing Skarmory as well. Like it's just the fast type pressure is crazy. Like when he played against Cindy, like I was like, dude, like I don't know what Cindy could do.
I know. And speaking of Cindy, she was one of my other picks.
Yeah,
coming in tied 49th. So did Ventusky and House Stark. So I had a bunch of the lower ones, but again, it's like I made a calculated risk in picking the former world champion to do well, and boy, am I bad at math.
Hey, I really wanted Axon, right?
I think he played well too. It's just like tough matchups, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I also picked Crescent Angels and Tauntaun Battus, who had also like done really well up until that point, and they just.
I mean, Tauntaun was like literally 1 HP from beating Hard Jeff in round 1, and then unfortunately, wasn't able to. But
I will speak for Tristan here because I think he told me this 3 times over the weekend that my favorite statistic did get broken over the World Championships in that Ric Flair and Eniot Saxon were the 2 people who hit top 16 in both World Championships, and then they met up in the losers bracket, and Ric Flair was the one to knock out Axon, and then Rick happened to lose in the next match, so they both sort of went by the wayside. We lose out on the next top 16. No one has hit top 16 in all 3 worlds, but that's all right.
All 3 worlds, because right. I think also like Valiant Vish posted something about it, but the thing is like his placement's going lower by the year, but also like the amount of players that are at Worlds has increased, significantly. So like percentile wise, I think he's actually still like around the same mark or might have done even better this year than some previous years. But I don't know, someone could do the math on it. So I was just like, I wouldn't be too hard on himself. Also, he was like almost at top cut again, right? He came really close. But okay, yeah. So was that did Kaz go through
that
all
was
her
Kaz's?
picks?
So then
and then it's me. I had I predicted 6 right, so not too bad. S James P I got 250 points. And then Hard Jeff as well got 250 points. Yakovlevich got me 500. He made top cut. Elite, decent, no points there. We got Marco Galde. Sixth place pick. 3rd place overall, 1350. Charming Cheetah got me 250. Rubik's Master Shine Dialga didn't get me anything. And then Lurgan Rocket. Yo, that was a steal. 10th place, 1,200 points. I think that was the biggest steal for the last pick. Yeah, that was. Yeah, 10th place. Definitely. But so I got a total of 3,800. And then we got Steve.
Yeah, so second place finish. We nabbed Emmy Weedle from the get-go, who made it into top cut and got that 500 pointer. Number 2 pick was Rick Flairian, who did still a yeek out with that 250. Pretty much, I think just because he beat Axon. I think if he didn't beat Axon, we wouldn't have been looking at this 250, but wouldn't have changed the result anyway. We then had
Really
Inadequate.
rubbing in Kaz's face right here.
I don't know what to tell you. You could have had another 250. Yeah, wouldn't have quite got up to Caleb.
We picked up Tristan, but
yeah, if only. Leaving it for him, man. But then, I had the second place World Championship finisher, Inadequates. Going into the grand finals, I was sort of telling people like, hey, if Inadequates wins, I get that draft pick. If Yakai wins, I still get to take it home as the APAC World Champion. So I'm winning either way, baby. But wouldn't have actually.
You didn't win.
Wouldn't have actually. Even if Inadequates won Worlds, I wouldn't have won the draft. We'll put it that way. Then I had Scaffo, Avrip, and Rocket Claire, none of whom got points. And then I got a triple 800 back to back with Arceus Aurelius, Bopper, and Ramberto 777.
That was pretty good.
Caleb was like, yeah, you can have him, man. It's like, whatever. So I would take it.
Honestly, Ramberto's the best player I've ever seen. That doesn't count. like, I kid you not. Like, his match versus Onion Frank was the weirdest thing ever because both of them don't really count. It was just like, I was commenting that, I was like, what is going on? But, but no, he played really well too.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart. And then, I had Mikey Morgs as well, who wasn't in the points. So I had 6 out of 10 in the points. 3 of my misses were Australians, which is,
that. Yeah, I was about to ask you about that. I was like, your Aussies, 3 out of the 4 didn't net so many points, but given that you still got second, which was pretty impressive, even with the region bias. But
I had great shots outside of Oz, but Scaffo.
I want to say the Aussie picks were bad by any means either. It's just
no.
Look,
No.
if Doombug goes 0-2 at a tournament, anyone could go 0-2, right?
Yeah, I think I don't think beat Doombug in that sense. So
I don't think anyone made bad picks. It's just it's just a matter of timing.
That's definitely.
But
Butters,
that does bring us to the winner.
Yeah, he's not here because he's actually I think he's in Brazil right now. Actually, he came home and then flew back to San Francisco, and then he had to like repack stuff or something, and then he's going to Brazil. So he's on a plane to Brazil right now or already there. I don't know, but he said he has a hectic 24 hours of travel when he told me. But he picked 7, most amount of players correct as well, 7, and he had a total of 6,250 points. Almost like 1,500 more than the second place finisher. Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
More than triple of Tristan. But so LNTS Steiner gets 250, which is his first pick actually. Out of pocket, second pick got 1,200 for him. Rise Occasion got 500. Vanovich got 250. Stone Clutching didn't get any. Beelzeboy got 1,250. And Beelzeboy was on my list too. So was Kai, number 7. Picking the world champion. LDS Kanan didn't net any points. Onion Frank, 800 points. Man, Onion Frank too, man. Some of these players are just like, they're like, play weird, but they're always reliable for points. I need to keep that in mind for the future. And then Sad Sand didn't net any points. But overall, really good picks from Butters. And yeah, like Steve said, even if he picked the world champion over Butters and Butters got Yakai got second, it wouldn't have mattered. I don't think it would matter even if Yakai got 3rd. I don't think that.
Well, it depends who sort of moves up and whatnot. But
Yeah.
Butters did have 3 of the top 6, which is pretty nutty. So which really actually leaning in on his support of the APAC region, because 2 of them, coming from APAC. So maybe APAC deserves a little more respect going forward. Just throwing it out there.
Are you like the APAC cheerleader? Because you're technically in Oceania, so you're not even APAC.
Well, okay.
Right?
Well, here's the thing. If you define regions in general, like outside of Pokemon Go, we are APAC. And even in Silver Arena.
We're
and stuff,
playing Pokemon Go here.
Yeah, but I've always been a little confused by APAC being used just to describe Asia, because the APAC region is specifically to include us as well. Like if you want to talk about Asia, say Asia. But even on the official play Pokemon stuff, they kept saying APAC, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess, but technically it's not right. So I'm gonna keep using APAC to define Australia included. But I'm still hyping him up.
Fair.
Well, I still think it has a lot to do with like visibility too in the communities where you spend your time, and obviously like Butters really supports that community, so he has a very strong knowledge of them, whereas I mean I admit I don't have as much, because we just don't get to see as many statistics that come out of there.
I feel like Butters is more supportive of the Brazilians more than anything else.
Yeah.
But
well, certainly he is, but
yeah. Wait, let me see. He picked up how many Brazilians? He picked up Steiner,
Was it 3?
Kanan. No, just 2
Oh,
actually.
no, just 2.
Yeah, but it might have been also because a lot of Brazilians were also picked up by the rest of us, right? So
yeah.
So yeah. Actually, speaking of Brazilians, I think Zardi and Steiner are going to be in LA this upcoming weekend, and they're planning on going to a local.
Oh,
Dude. And I think Tomahawk
wow.
and some Europeans are here as well this upcoming weekend. So, dude, my locals are stacked. Hey, I tweeted about this too, but I feel like SoCal has the strongest local scene in NA at least. Maybe in the world, but definitely NA. I know Texas. Texas is pretty impressive, right? Bopper, I think, was the
Yeah.
highest placing. Oh no, Bopper and Berto tied. No, we're definitely the strongest. All right, so Bopper got 9th, right? Berto and CTU got 9th place, right?
Mhm.
And on top of that, we had what? Who else we have in? Well, I'm looking at people that got points for us.
yeah.
Gerald,
It depends
right?
if you just look at
33rd.
World Championships, right? Because like I don't think anyone is looking at Dunbar going 0-2 and going like, oh, he's washed. He sucks at the game now.
Well, I know,
So-
but hey, LA locals perform. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know.
We got
Rise is in Texas too now.
yeah, but what do Rise get compared to C2 and Berto? I rest my
I'm
case.
just saying, and
I
Bopper,
rest my
like
case.
it's just it's
Well, yeah, a ninth and a what? A 33rd? Or no, a ninth and a 25th versus 2 ninth place finishes. Plus a 33rd.
All right, now we got that LA bias going on, but
There's no bias. My thing is all provided by facts. All right, it's all factually based.
It's all
factually
supported.
based. It's impressive when one of our locals that doesn't count can make 9th, right? So just wait till he learns how to count.
We'll see you at your TED Talk.
We'll see what?
We'll see you at your TED Talk about it.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing he didn't learn how to
I
count
have
before now, because all the counts are about to change. So
That's true.
Yeah. I need to hit up my my buddy that runs Pokemoose.com to update that. Actually, the guy that makes it super friendly. He doesn't play Pokemon Go anymore, but I found him on Reddit, and he just said I don't play the game anymore, but my data should pull from the game files whenever they update the game for like the new stuff. And I don't think he pushed the update because it showed like the last update was like May or something. It was like after Guja got Thunder Punch, right? So I was like, I don't know how many Dragon Breath to a Thunder Punch on Guja, right? I can't think of anything else that has Dragon Breath to Thunder Punch. I'm sure there's some other similar moves like that, but I just like too lazy to figure it out. So I mentioned on Reddit, and instantly he like updated it, right? So
cool.
Yeah, cool dude. I'll definitely ping him on September 3rd. But we'll talk more about that.
Just to make sure.
Yeah. But huge congrats to Yakai, by the way. That's super impressive run. And incredible run by Inadequates as well too, who like consistent performs well, but like to be that consistent is not easy. And then Marto. I mean, he got 5th place at Worlds in London. He missed out on qualifying last year and then got 3rd. Like he was telling me, he was like, yeah, his biggest regret from 2022 in London was that he was 1 place away from getting a trophy because top 4 gets trophies. He didn't get that trophy. And so the moment he got into that winners finals, he got that trophy. Yeah, at least a top 3 finish, right? But taking it to 5 games against both Yakai and Inadequates was kind of nuts. And I feel like he had a chance to beat both of them. Obviously game 5 against Yakai, I think if you just swapped in Annihilate into Lickitung, he just wins, right? But he swapped in his own Lickitung, and the Altar was a little too free in the back, unfortunately. And then against Inadequates, I don't know if you all saw this, but game 4 against Inadequates in losers bracket, losers finals, he had like a I think like a Lantern into a Skarmory, and then he had a Whimsicott on Inadequate's safe swap Poliwrath, and he somehow lost alignment there. I was so confused because I literally thought it was over, so I went to like throw something in the trash.
Oh, I
I
remember.
I walked back and I was like, "What? Like,
I
how's
remember that.
Inadequate's winning this?"
I think it had something to do with his Whimsicott on the Poliwrath.
He must
If
have
I
not
remember.
shielded it, right? Or
Yeah, he didn't shield, I think, one of the icy winds because you can survive one and shielded the other. But the problem is Whimsicott still is not bulky.
yeah.
So the counters add up
Yeah.
more than you think they will for a
Mhm.
fairy type. So Inadequance ended up being able to actually two shield his Poliwrath and then farm the Whimsicott down with counter,
Yeah.
which led to the problems in the late game for Marto. So it was a really a really weird match that
Yeah.
doesn't really make sense, but but that's what I saw.
I thought it
Yeah,
was
that
pretty
make
cool.
I mean that would make sense based on what happened. And I think what I heard is that Marto didn't throw the C bomb right away.
Yeah.
Maybe it was building into Moonblast or something like that. And so because of that, after that he got debuffed, and I think it might have made a difference there. I don't know. I honestly didn't think Polygraph would be that meta relevant, but Inadequate's made it look really good, actually, in the tournament.
Well, I mean,
It made a
Inadequate's
lot of sense with
definitely.
his team too.
Yeah. Well, his team was a little off the wall compared to the sort of standard
Well, he
main
stole
meta
from
line.
Scaffle apparently.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
his team, but
But
Yeah.
I mean he's been running like a similar team
Yeah,
in other tournaments. So he
Mhm.
kind of like tweaks it each time.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
definitely his kind of team, right? Like even though
Yeah.
Scaffle
Yeah,
made
yeah.
it, it's that's a team that Martine would run well with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly
Yeah,
right.
yeah. And we've talked about like he's a very technical player, so obviously like he knows how those Pokemon work together. So even if it seems like odd picks from the outside, like I'm certain that he thought it
Yeah, the synergy was
very
really
well
good.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is not
He
easy to
definitely.
play Giratina too. I played that in locals. I'm like, dude, this thing it just like doesn't get the job done, you know? Like it walls
Yeah.
off charge bug, but you're like shielding sometimes if they shield. It's kind of weird, but
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like I don't think this quite went through my head in either of the last two World Championships, but I do particularly like I feel really bad for Inadequates just because he went into like last day looking so confident. He was like, my team matches up so well. I'm winning in all these scrims. I feel so good here. I am gonna be world champion, and then just to like lose it all at that last bit is like, dang, it's
And
rough.
as we were saying, it didn't even feel like I don't want to use the term like it didn't feel like skill because certainly there's skill involved, but it did feel like it all came down to Yakai's team reads. Just his perception of what Inadequance was going to bring was almost psychic.
Yeah.
You know, it felt kind of unreal. And so, yeah, to lose like that when you felt like, as you're saying, Steve, so confident, I can imagine how deflating that is. But certainly he did so well in the tournament overall, and he still played technically amazing. So yeah, I mean, kudos to them both for bringing out those 4 games as well as they did.
Yeah. I also think it's important to sort of add the caveat to like I've seen like this discussion points come up a few times over the last few days, and I think it's also important to not contextualize it in the sense like Yakai played cracked all weekend. Like it's not like Yakai just yoinked the world championship. He didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
Like
No, he
played skillful all
absolutely
weekend.
deserved it. Yeah.
But yeah, that last set was a little less. It wasn't the most skillful sets of battles that he had played all weekend. It was, yeah, he had psychic team reads, and I do think that
But
I was telling
way-
someone this that like because he was on the winner side of the bracket, he sort of had room to be a little bit risky in a little bit like, hey, I know that Martine's team can be hard countered. He had a lot of picks like, Skarmory into Wigglytuff is just like, well, what are you going to do? And that's just sort of how Martine's team was built. And so Yakai sort of had room to sort of, make those risks a few times over and only had to win one set.
Well, that's where I think the skill is now. Is in the team reading, in the team building. Like that's where it becomes more evident how well you can play. because like I know that's something I struggle with a lot. It's like
Mhm.
even in GBL, it's like what could be in the back, and if you don't feel like you can make those kind of predictions, then it's a lot harder to feel confident in your team, and it's a lot harder to act quickly in the battle. So yeah, Yakai certainly played well all weekend, but that team reading is also a skill that he's very definitely developed to a fine-tuned degree.
Yeah, and I think something that was also very impressive with Yukai is it wasn't even just a team reading, but I think in that grand finals he like gave up switch advantage multiple times, but
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
he found a way to like get farm on like let's say like a Skarmory, right? Like Skarmory boosted Poliwrath
Yeah.
on like even shields, but he would just give up switch advantage and come away with energy on Skarmory, and all of a sudden you're like, well, yeah, Poliwrath is a good matchup here if you have even shields, but this Skarmory's up a shield and has energy, and like all of a sudden it's like way more uncomfortable, right? And I think yeah, I think he kind of did that better than almost anyone else throughout the tournament, but it was a little bit less into a team with like Giratina and Wigglytuff, like he and Skarmory, right? And Lantern, like obviously this alignment is like pretty crucial in a lot of those kind of matchups. I think you kind of like somehow danced around that pretty well, which is kind of nuts.
Yeah, that was something I remember thinking while I was watching at home, is seeing like both he and Inadequance over farming quite a bit, especially
Mhm.
when it came to Skarmory, or like Inadequance's case, like the Poliwrath. Just banking that energy was going to be way more important than having the shields later.
Mhm. Definitely. Um, but yeah, I mean, congrats to Yakai. Very excited to see him back at Worlds next year and see what he does. I mean, he's improved a lot from last year to this year, so I can only imagine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. That's another
So-
statement. But
yeah,
he could also say, good luck, Yakai, to his school exam this week, because he said
Yes.
that like
I-
I'll post a longer form tweet recapping worlds later because I've got to study for a test now. So,
yeah. I hope that if he's taking that test like in a classroom, that he just carries the trophy and the medal in with him, like sorry, excuse me.
I will say one thing too. The the North Americans really did not
oh
perform that
yeah,
well. I mean,
Yeah,
no,
obviously
I was
some of
I
them,
was
some of
just
them did.
thinking that I remember someone, I can't remember if it was Dracoviz or someone else, had posted like the breakdown percentage
Yeah.
of nationalities basically at Worlds, and yeah, by and large the North Americans, particularly the US, did not do well at all. But the
Well,
Asia
neither the
region,
Canadians either.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but the Asia region and the LATAM region, certainly they were like, no, last year was your worlds, this year is our
Well,
worlds.
EU was overrepresented. So Jacob
Yeah,
essentially came up with a great graphic after the first day, and they had a breakdown of Europe, Asia, Oceania, North America, and Latin America. And they broke it down by percentage of attendees in Top Cup by region.
that's
And
maybe what I'm thinking of.
yeah,
yeah,
so for that, so obviously, like there will be less probably players from Oceania and Asia because they just have less people total, but the
Hmm.
percentage is what's important. So Europe sent, I think, 55 total players to Worlds, and they got 13 on 55, just under 25%, like just like 23.5% or something like that.
Mhm.
Asia came in second place for top quest, top 32, 5 out of 25, right? So exactly on the 20% mark. Oceania as well, 2 out of 10, so exactly on the 20% mark. North America came in fourth with 8 out of 73. We had 73 players. We almost had as many players. We had more players. No, sorry, we had a little less, but almost as many players as Asia and Europe combined. And they had pretty much double of that add together. So yeah, North America around like that 11% mark, and then Latin America 4 out of 45. So just under North America in that respect. I think around like 9%. But
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of thinking like, add Asia and Oceania together. And by the way, they've separated, they've called it Asia, not APAC, just for the record. If you add the APAC region, you've got like 7 players versus North America's 8 players. and APAC had 35 players to North America's 73. So like over double.
Steve claiming all of Asia for him whenever he can. Whenever serves him right.
baby.
Whenever is possible.
Oh, yeah. I know Europeans were fired up this year too. I mean, they were like the first region out last year, so they were feeling it. But
well, I think you're, Caleb, you're probably one of the ones who was pushing it the most. The anti-EU rhetoric after the last World Championships.
I wasn't pushing
over the
nothing.
last
I was
year.
just pushing the facts, man. I was just pushing the facts.
Yeah. Well,
I could
fact's gonna
care
be
less who
pushing
wins
against
what.
NA
Like
this
I'm
year.
here for a good time. Like honestly, like when it was Beelzebub versus Out of Pocket in that determining who would get like 4th or 5th matchup. I was totally okay with Beelzebub winning it, right? I wasn't like, oh, I need an NA player to win because Out of Pocket was the last NA player left. I was like, you know what? How often do APAC get the spotlight? In fact, even more importantly, how often does India get the spotlight? Because none of the Indian qualifiers last year even went to Worlds. I can't remember if there's an Indian player, but they weren't from India, right? Like it might have been like from like a different region, right? But so to have that, to have that spotlight straight from India, Beelzebub, and he was one of
one. Only one Indian batter actually made it to
the other
Worlds.
Indian qualifiers didn't make it, right? Because Nam Empire didn't, and then one other wasn't able to make it already. What happened to the 4th one?
All I know for sure is that Beelzebub was the only guy that actually rocked it, which actually means that India was 100% attendees in Top Cut. So shout out India.
Kind of wild, yeah. 1 out of 1. But yeah, and I ran into Beelzebub last year too. You all weren't on the podcast at the time, but it was funny. It was right after Worlds ended. I'm in like the lobby area of the convention center. Some guy comes and be like, "Oh, Caleb." I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And I didn't know what Beelzebub looked like, right? I was like, "Oh, what's your name?" He's like, "I'm Skull Trapper." I was like, "No shot. No shot. You came all the way to Worlds, found me in this lobby, and you tell me you're Skull Trapper. There's no way." I was like, "No, who are you really?" Right? I was just laughing. He's like, "Oh, I'm Beelzebub." I was like, "Oh, like because we faced off against him in his old team in factions in North America. He's part of Body Slammers, and then I've battled him all the time in GPL too, right? Anytime I'm high up on Libor, I'll see his name and I'll get my cheeks clapped. But yeah. So anyway, so I definitely like, and obviously he missed out on qualifying last year, but you get one chance to do it, right? It's so hard, but he played incredibly well all weekend too.
India was one of the most difficult, potentially the most difficult tournament to qualify for, because they had like 270 people or something. And again, you only have that one shot to fight through. Like, it's more people than Worlds. Massive tournament, and you only have one travel award on the line, I think. Which, Beelzebub happened to take it all out, take it all the way there. And this is a conversation I was having with a lot of the Asian players at Worlds, is that they were really hoping that now that Yakai has sort of won the World Championship from Asia, that maybe Asia gets a little more attention. Maybe there's
I really
more
hope
invites,
so.
maybe streams, just like some level of like, can we use this momentum to get a little more representation?
Even just like one stream of their like big qualifiers. I would love, even if I'm just watching the rebroadcast later, like I would love to watch that and be more aware of all those players.
Yeah. I mean,
just throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there.
They haven't announced any of the Asia qualifiers yet, but I'll definitely be shooting some emails through, and hopefully we can, leverage the world champ and then also leverage the Perth regional stream happening. It's like maybe we can make something happen. I'm not too confident, but we can keep our fingers crossed.
Because I also want to watch you guys.
That's cool. But yeah, we'll see.
True. Who else is going to bring Royal Motor regional? No one.
Well,
no one.
Oh, I don't think Wellman's getting so debuffed, man.
Yeah.
Wellman's going to be worse than it's ever been.
What was the body? Did Skull get nerfed or no?
Yeah, I think Skull got nerfed. Did it dodge it?
But it don't matter.
No. It was Surf. It was Surf that got changed.
Okay.
Surf got buffed.
Which changed. I don't know if it's buffed or not, but we'll talk about that.
Well, I mean, yeah. We'll get there.
Okay, but anyway, that's pretty much generally what happened at Worlds. One other thing we want to mention is stuff that they revealed at the end of Worlds
Yeah.
for all the games. Pokemon Go did have something this year. Last year it didn't. But
Yeah.
this year did. What's coming is a little bit weird. I don't really know specifically based on the trailer, but they teased more Pico, which is a Pokemon that changes. And they said something along the lines of, in a tweet they posted on their blog as well. Certain Pokemon like Morpeko will be able to change forms in battle by using Charge Attack, unleashing new possibilities for you
Yes.
and your battle team. Stay tuned for more details on the two-sided Pokemon's electrifying entrance. That could be interesting. I don't know if Morpeko will be relevant, but if you could use that on, like, I don't know.
There
Let's say
are, I
let's say your
mean,
Bastion turns from Rock Steel to Psychic Ghost. That'd be crazy, right? It's like almost like
well, yeah.
terrestrializing a little bit.
If you start to look at Morpeko as they're sort of advertising it currently, you know, it literally has a change in its typing depending on a move that it uses, right?
Mm-hmm.
That applies to a lot of other Pokemon that are much more interesting.
Do you have an example?
Namely, Aegislash.
Yeah.
Wait, what
Yeah.
typing does that turn into?
Well, it doesn't. Well, it just changes its like stats, and because the form, like it becomes like the shield as opposed to like the swords.
Oh,
So
like shield stance or sword stance?
yes. So the
Attack
way it
form,
works,
defense form? Is
yes,
that?
basically, it means that its stats change mid battle to have more attack or defense, you know, or vice versa, depending on the form that it takes.
Deoxys.
And I'm not, yeah, and Deoxys is another one that like. Though, yeah, those form changes, I'm not entirely sure how they worked in the game. But for Aegislash, I know that it's like, I don't know if it's like a move or an ability, but I feel like it could be introduced as a move to Pokemon Go based on what we're seeing with Morpeko.
Rotom.
Yeah, Rotom is another really good one. I mean, they've released those already as individual forms, but can you imagine like if you could just change one of them, you know?
Hoopa. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of these aren't like they're like have like one good form, so we'll have to see.
Yeah.
But
well,
they
we
tease
haven't
that.
actually. Yeah, we didn't really talk about what's actually the dealio in that. Yeah, Morpeko will use a move. Like we sort of talked around it. We didn't actually say it. Morpeko will use a move, and then it will change from full belly mode to hangry mode, which changes its typing in the game.
Yes.
And I heard some people talking about it'll change the type of the move that it uses as well. So there's going to be sort of shenanigans in there where like it's not just catching a move. It's also like, oh, if I charge attack priority against this Morpeko and they get their move off first, then I'm going to be attacking into a different typing or predicting that they're going to be mode changing into a different typing where it might be super effective or not very effective. So again, like Parabolic Charge has been buffed. So maybe Morpeko with whatever moves, it actually becomes good, but probably not. But
yeah, because its typing is one of the hangry form is electric dark.
Yes. Someone was saying electric fairy, but I've just Googled it and it says electric dark. So
yeah, the one form is electric dark. That's the point. One form is electric dark. The other is electric fairy.
Right,
I believe.
Right. Yeah.
So
you're
yeah.
both right.
So if you're throwing, like to your point, Steve, if you're throwing perhaps a fighting move into a dark type and suddenly it like wins the charge attack priority and becomes a fairy type, like that's no longer going to do anything depending on the stats that this comes with.
Yeah. And okay, the move is called Aura Wheel and it changes type as well. So there's going to be shenanigans where like you might use the electric type Aura Wheel and it could be super effective, but then you're stuck into the dark type Aura Wheel for the next one. So the opponent can swap into, say, a water type like Greninja that resists, dark type moves, take the resisted move and know that they can get to however many Hydro Cannons before you get back to electric type Aura Wheel. So it does increase the complexity of the game, which I enjoy. And they've, as you mentioned, Kaz, like this is very much sort of a move inwards to sort of this sort of move. And I did Google how Aegislash changes as well. It says that if it uses a damaging move, it changes to blade form immediately before using the move.
It's coming.
But then if it uses King's Shield, which is a different move, it changes to shield form. So I don't know if
I don't know
if
they'll simplify it or if they'll leave it like that, or I know it won't be the exact same way as the main series games, because it can't be. That's just not how Pokemon Go functions right now, like in the battling mechanics. But certainly whether Morpeko itself is relevant to the meta or not, like I don't think that matters as much as kind of what this implicates for the future of the game. Like it just demonstrates to me that they are like thinking about the ways that the way we play the game can change, which I think is the most important thing, because it's something that a lot of us have been talking about for a really long time.
Yeah.
So just the idea that they're even if it's just this one Pokemon for now, like I'm so excited for them to find more ways to kind of use mechanics like this to change the meta and the skills that we play with.
Yeah, definitely.
It shows a willingness for some change, which I like.
Anything that can make the game more complex is a good thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. So. And then the other tease was Dynamax, right? Gigantamax.
What is the difference between Gigantamax and Dynamax?
I have no idea.
Great question. Okay, we are all clueless. Maybe it's a Google search. What is the difference?
Keep us posted on that. But that was another teaser too. It didn't really show much. It just said something gigantic is coming or something like that.
Yeah, it just says something big is coming.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I think that Dynamax was what existed first in when they released Sword and Shield, like, and then it kind of changed as they did DLC and stuff. So both of them have Pokemon that are bigger, right, and kind of like have different attacks or abilities or whatever in the main series game. So yeah, this is kind of hinting at one or both of them, but I think Steve does have an answer for us.
Yeah, I actually did know this. I just completely forgot in the moment, and we actually might have talked about it like a couple weeks back.
I feel like we did too.
I feel like we did too.
If I don't remember, no one listening.
We all just universally forgot.
Yeah, but anyway, Dynamax is something that every Pokemon can do, and your Pokemon becomes bigger for 3 turns, and your moves turn into like max Rockfall or things like that, and they do more damage. They can't be shielded, like it goes through shields and does some amount of damage, which is presumably, if it comes into PvP,
that's
that would
crazy
be a
if it goes through shields.
Thing. I don't know how much it reduces the damage by, but shields just.
It'd be crazy if it goes through shields, and like if you try to shield, you just waste your shield. Yeah. I think it'd be better if they don't do that, and you just know that you can't use your shield. That'd probably be.
You know in advance, like it physically changes form into a Dynamax, and so you have to think about like, do I want to use my shield here to like reduce some of the damage?
So
obviously, like shield's synonymous to protect.
It reduces some damage, but not all of it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You'd have an idea that that's what's about to happen, but they could also implement it and go differently. Like maybe it doesn't like break your shield, so that maybe it just kind of like gives it back to you, like, oh, you like don't get that, actually you can use it later, but not now. So there are lots of ways they could implement it, but it works like the Dynamax, like you were saying, every Pokemon has the ability to do it. Does that mean it's kind of like similar to Mega Evolution, like in the main series games, like it happens once in the battle?
Once in main series it lasts for 3 turns. You get to use 3 moves.
Okay.
Or the one way to protect from a Dynamax charge attack is by having like Dynamax shield. Max I don't know what it's actually called, but so there would be those sorts of shenanigans as well if that's how it was implemented. The other one is Gigantamax, which is just like some specific Pokemon have a Gigantamax form. I don't really understand like what they do.
And Venusaur and stuff like that.
Yeah. The fact that they used the word gigantic, I don't know if that was just like a translation thing or like what the dealio was in the closing ceremony, because the word gigantic sounds like
Gigantamax.
Well, they just said something big is coming, right? Like they didn't necessarily.
I think they said giant in the trailer.
Yeah,
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Or if it wasn't in the trailer, it was like said by the translator, like on the main.
Yeah, stage. It was. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think. Oh, yeah. I think. Ishihara said it. I think that's what it was. But
but like that could be a translation thing. Like in Japanese, it might have not had that meaning. That like. Sound like Gigantamax.
Possibly, but given that they know what they're going to say ahead of time, I think they probably were careful with the wording, because I think I don't think like the script is like made up on the spot, right? So I think like, not to say the translator definitely knows Japanese, right? But like I think that translator knows exactly what to say in English as well.
Yeah.
You know,
It's for everyone. He has the
Mm.
script.
I actually met the
But
translator like on Thursday, I think. While I was waiting in line to pick up my competitor pack, but he or no, it was Wednesday actually, but he's a Niantic employee, I think. So
oh, okay,
yeah,
cool.
but he's been doing translations for these events for I don't know how long, but he was there last year too, right? So
Yeah.
but yeah, cool stuff. So anyway, so those are things being teased. I really hope it changes the game quite a bit. Obviously, 50-second timer changes things, but hope that does change things quite a bit for the game and the complexities of it. But speaking of 50-second timer changes, we did reveal, and when I say we, I should say me, because I was the one on the mic, but I did reveal a bunch of different updates while at the end of the first day of broadcast on that Friday. Bunch of big moveset updates, so we'll throw that on the screen as well for you all to take a look at.
Mhm.
I don't know where to start. Anyone want to start it off with the rock side and just go from there?
Oh my gosh,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, we can pokey wrap it a bit. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, like, being in the. So I don't know if you could really tell. I don't know where I don't know where the caster lounge was in the
It
venue.
was backstage, but I could hear.
Okay, because it
I could
was
hear the cheers.
wild. Like when the move.
People were louder about that than the actual game. I
Yeah,
feel
seriously,
like.
it was the
Yeah.
loudest cheers there were the entire weekend, and it was
I mean, I
honestly
could
my
hear
favorite
it.
moment from the day.
Like I could hear it on the stream, like
Yeah.
while Caleb, you were just trying to like get
Yeah.
through all of them as they were
Dude,
scrolling
I
by.
don't.
Like I could hear people in the background like shouting.
And it wasn't like I don't even think it was even planned by production to go for crowd shots, right? It was supposed to be just the casters in the booth and then
Yeah.
the scroll of all the updates. But they
Yeah.
had to pan to the crowd because it was just so hype about it, and I love that they just like pan to the crowd and people cheer. It was like
Yeah.
I don't know, like I'm trying to think like what it also reminds me of like people at like Comic-Con or whatever, and they tease like something big like Tony Stark's back or something. And everyone's like, ah, yeah,
Yeah.
It was seriously
like
that
that.
level. I have never experienced something like that in my life. So it was pretty cool to, just the manager like counting up. Like it was
Yeah.
super
Um,
cool the whole way through. But yeah, basically
well,
everything that has changed is the
yeah, I was gonna say it was probably louder because like what you started with is kind of the some of the moves that we're all the most used to are the
Mhm.
first ones that were announced as changed. Like
That's right.
rock slide decrease in power, wing attack energy generation decrease, counter energy generation decrease, dig goes down in power.
Power's just damage
Mud,
essentially.
yeah,
yeah.
and steel wing energy generation decreased. Body slam goes down in power as well. Like it's
Mhm.
Dude,
just
they killed Vigoroth.
I know
They
they were
murdered
like
that
we
monkey.
see so many Vigoroth on the world stream and we took that personally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ain't no
honestly.
Vigoroth. But also Annihilate too, right? Counter. That's why I said
Mhm.
like I wouldn't mind
Mhm.
like sharing that with CTU with the Corselli matchup because with the counter damage nerf, like things or energy generation changed. Like that changed so much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why again I think there's a lot of value to break points and bulk points, but those things
He
are
says
very
now.
situational to like the current
Yeah.
like the current values of these moves.
Yeah.
The moment you change energy generation, that flips so many matchups, right? All of a
Yep.
sudden
Yeah.
that changes, right? Like mud shot damage, right? That changes so many things change when you do these things. Whereas high PP IVs are timeless, right? In terms of their utility,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, Mudshot it increased in power, but it also got an energy generation decrease. So
Mm.
while you might be able to farm a few more things down, you won't be able like it's no longer gonna be you're looking at a Swampert and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hydro cannon, you know? So and the same with Poison Sting. Poison Sting got an increase in power, but the energy generation actually stays the same for that one,
it's a
which is
straight
gonna make
buff.
which is gonna make Clodsire even more relevant.
Mm.
You talked about Surfer, they're getting a buff, so I guess 10 extra damage, but energy cost is increased. I feel
Yeah,
like this
it's
is kind of like Seed Bomb. Like what
Mhm.
they did with
yeah.
Seed Bomb over the years is that they increase the energy cost but increase the damage. And if you look at it on paper, it looks like a buff, but it actually was a nerf for like Trevenant, right? Because the pacing was just
Mhm.
slower. and the pacing was what was more had higher utility and use than the extra damage. So
Yeah,
I wonder
but
if Surf's gonna
Surf,
be similar in that respect.
I mean, what runs Surf currently?
Lantern.
Jellicent,
Yeah.
Lantern.
Yeah.
Those are probably the main two.
Yeah.
Like Period.
Waylord
Ice
runs
Wave, I
it,
don't
but you
know.
know.
Well, what does?
Waylord runs it, so
Whalmer.
keep that in mind.
A whale lord.
Well, Lord, yeah.
Yeah.
It's also Sky Attack got an increase in power, but also an energy cost increase. Was Sky Attack recently like decreased in power?
It was nerfed like a year ago. I think like the
Yeah.
last September update was when they nerfed it, and they increased the energy cost of Sky Attack, and that was it. It was a straight nerf. This time around, they're increasing the power, but energy cost increases again. So it's kind of like, in a
Yeah,
way, it's
that's
probably
rough.
another nerf. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's more of a nerf than any kind of buff
yeah.
because the things
I mean, if you
that
think about anything that's like meta relevant right now, if they changed it, it's probably a nerf. It's my
Yeah.
guess,
so
right?
so
Like
I mean, yeah,
why would they buff Sir? There's no way, right? Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, they basically killed Vigoroth and Skarmory usage.
Gligar.
Gligar
Gligar nerfed
usage.
down the wing attack and the dig.
Yeah.
Mantine's kind of weird too. It might still be good. I don't know, but the wing attack definitely hurts it.
Caleb's bestie also getting a nerf in Bastiodon.
Don't say my
'cause-
bestie. This is all the Aussies' besties too, man. We're all in the same club here. Yeah, honestly, I was when I saw that. Yes, SmackDown goes down by 1 damage, which honestly might not be that bad. It's just 1 damage,
Yeah.
but the thing
Yeah.
is, it definitely will make a difference over the course of many matchups. But I was talking to someone about this. I was like, you know what? Like, they're like, what do you think about Bassie there? I was like, you know what? Maybe I just end up not bringing Bassie anymore to tournaments, and I actually might finally win one. We'll see. We'll see. That's
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
It's pretty funny when I made one graphic with every play Pokemon Bastiodon winner of all time, and it's Rob Drogo, Perth 2022.
yeah, and that might stay like that for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, they wanted to nerf that whole like what is often referred to as degenerate core of Bastiodon and like Shadow Victory Bell because Razor Leaf also got a decrease in power.
Yeah, but Swift got a buff with the energy cost decrease, so I don't know about that. I guess they nerfed 2 out of 3 with a but
Wiggly can stay. We like Wiggly here.
I mean, I like it, but I don't know about everyone else. But
I also find it interesting that Trailblaze got an energy cost decrease because like so many Pokemon got access to that very recently, and I've used a few of them since then, and it admittedly felt a little bit clunky. So this decrease could actually make some of those recently
weird. So,
Trailblaze getters pretty interesting.
Some of them also have certain moves, so like Greedent with Mudshot. Mudshot kind of got nerfed.
Yeah.
So it got one extra damage, but energy generation decrease. So like
it's also got Bullet Seed.
Yes, it does also still have Bullet Seed.
But Bullet Seed was what made Greedent bad. Like it made it irrelevant until it got Mudshot, right? I don't know. But if the energy cost decrease and the Mudshot energy generation decrease, then maybe it evens out. But Bison got nerfed, so like I don't know. It's like there's like it's like hard to wrap your head around like what actually is better now because like some things in their kit got nerfed while some things in their kit got buffed, right? Like rollout, for example, like Dunsparce. Oh, rollout 3 extra damage, pretty nice. But Rockside also went down in damage, so like is it good?
Yeah.
No.
But I know Ampharos has both Trailblaze and Brutal Swing, and those both seem to have gotten buffed.
Yeah, Butters is back.
No, let's not do this again. Let's not do this again.
New bet incoming.
I will transfer my Bastion. It got no utility anymore. I will transfer my Bastion if someone wins with the Ampharos, right?
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, definitely take a look at our YouTube version if you can, because we're not covering all of this, but there's a bunch of different changes too. One big thing I noticed is like all the ghosts got buffed. Shadow Punch increased 15 damage for Shadow Punch is kind of crazy, actually. That's actually a lot. 20 extra damage for Nightshade. Energy cost and energy cost decrease. That's crazy. It's on both ends. So
Nightshade wasn't anything used before. So like now you'll
Noctowl
see
had it,
people
yeah.
Well,
actually
remember,
use it.
Noctowl only used it when Sky Attack was resisted and Nightshade was super effective. Otherwise, you would just go Sky Attack every time. So it was like
Well, and then you
bronze
got
off.
Shadow Ball, right?
And then it got Shadow
Yeah.
Ball, and it just become irrelevant. But we also have Astonish in a huge increase in power 3 from 9 to 12 power. That fast attack. So yeah, Ghosts overall got buffed. Dark and Poison, I see a lot of really nice things on here as well. So yeah, I mean, the entire meta is shifting, and I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, should be interesting. And a bunch of Pokemon got new moves as well, right? Like Ledian got counter, but counter also got nerfs. Just like I don't know if that actually helps much. But like like Pangoru got Karate Chop, like Nightshade, a bunch of things got. And so here's my thought on this. I like some of these buffs for sure, right? Makes a lot of things more relevant, right? Mud Slap like was just like unusable, but now it's like a lot better, presumably or potentially better, right? Same thing with like Astonish, Nightshade, stuff like that. I personally don't like it though when you nerf things that are like, yes, they're common to meta, but they're like in a good place, in my opinion, right? Like I don't think Vigoroth's like overpowered. I think it's safe, but it doesn't really hard counter a lot of stuff. Like the shield against Registeel, right? Like it's gonna hard counter like a Alolan Sand Slash and Lickitung, but I mean those things just that makes sense. There's not a lot that beats Lickitung.
Yeah, I would kind of second that. I feel like there's a lot of things that felt really flexible that no longer feel that flexible in this meta.
Yeah, because in my opinion, you reduce the diversity of viable Pokemon in PvP, which I don't think is a good thing, right? Yes, you see them a lot, but I don't think like Lickitung, in my opinion, wasn't in a bad place. It was just very bulky, but there's a lot of counterplay to it, and I think there should be more things like Lickitung rather than just destroy it completely. And then now we have a fighting dark type Pangoru that's like way more RPS, right? Where it has no play into fairies,
I have a very different take in that.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm a big fan of all of this in that it's not about making incremental changes. This is a big change up. This is about bringing, having a second go. It doesn't have to just be about like, oh, how do we tweak this to make it slightly better to the end of time? And then just, having new RPSs, new like, oh, we've been seeing Lickitung for 3 seasons straight. Like it's about having something freshening up, because we've talked about this for ages in that, like, the game is getting a little bit stale. We're seeing seeing it all just, go on and on and on and on. We're waiting for the more complexity. And until we get that change in complexity, which again, I think they're sort of starting to take steps towards, 1, with the switch timer going to 50 seconds, and then 2, more Peko sort of going in that direction as well. I feel like starting fresh a little bit is actually a good thing in the short term, in that, and the short to medium term, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I have 2 follow-up questions for you.
Well, I would tend to. I just want to say before we get to those questions, I would agree with Steve. Like, I think that this change is good because, I think this in a way does bring more Pokemon into the meta, because more things that we would never consider using before, you're going to see people start playing around with, which I think is arguably very exciting.
So I think those are all really good points. So one thing I would say, that's not the question, but I think regarding like the big shakeup and nerfing a bunch of things, buffing a bunch of things, I don't think it's super like sustainable to do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because
no.
one, like eventually people are going like you only have so many moves, right? What's happening next update? We're going to rebuff Steel again, nerf Mudslap. That's essentially what happened here. Like Steel Wing is buffed and now it's nerfed, right? And like
what I hope is that this is kind of like the Band-Aid, right? Like they've heard everyone complaining about how stale it feels, and they're kind of like, okay, well, we can't do all of that right now. So maybe this is our Band-Aid to kind of change up what we see while they work on introducing those larger form changes that change the way we play.
No, yeah, it's 100% Band-Aid. So there's obviously, my point is it's not sustainable. But the other thing my first follow-up question is, if you kept all these buffs, but you didn't really bring on a lot of these nerfs, right? Maybe nerf a few things. Like I think like Dig being nerfed is fine, right? Because Gligar's like so oppressive. But like a lot of these other things, like I think Counter was in a good spot, like Body Slam, all this stuff. If you keep those things right how they are, but you still buff stuff like Karate Chop, you still buff like Mud Slap, right? Wouldn't that still also freshen the game? Because now I don't think anyone's going to really run. I don't know how it's going to look, but my guess is if it's actually truly nerfed like Mudshot, no one's running Swampert, Whiscash, Quagsire anymore. Everyone's going to be running Gastrodon as their Mud Boy, right?
Yep.
But if you actually just buff Mud Slap to a point where it's usable, and you nerf Mudshot, then instead of just having all Gastrodon or all like Whiscash and Quagsire, now you can have Gastrodon and Quagsire and Whiscash, right, in the meta, and have like a little bit more variety than like, oh, this is going to be the default Mud Boy. Like, oh yeah, Naib's not relevant anymore. Oh, everyone's going to use Pangoro instead, right? And like, so that's what are your thoughts on that as my follow-up question?
I see the logic, but I will say if we just keep buffing everything forever, it's going to be power creep, and then like everything's just about the same if we just keep buffing things and don't nerf stuff. But I think
isn't that a good thing though? Because if there is too much things that are too strong, then that's what reduces diversity. Right? Like there's certain Pokemon that aren't like Mischievous not usable,
but
right?
Like if you just like if you increase damage amounts forever, there's only so much HP on stats. So like even if you buffed everything up, you'd need to bring it all back down at some point so that you don't like, kill a Sneasel in 2 mud shots or something.
Well, no. I'm saying you only buff stuff that's bad, right? You would never buff Counter, right?
Yeah,
you would never buff
yeah.
But there is.
You're basically.
No, go ahead, Kaz.
Yeah. Well, you're basically saying like let's keep things in the meta that are already there and just add to that, right?
If they're not broken, right? I think like the Skull nerf like this past season made sense, right? That 50% was like a little high, right? The 100% Zapcan chance like from a few years ago, probably a little bit high, right? I think Dig is like a little overtuned, particularly on Gligar. Nothing else really used Dig, so I think a Dig nerf makes a lot of sense, right? Was Wing Attack that broken? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. But like, Rock Slide too, right? Like that seems like super unnecessary. You nerf Counter, you nerf Body Slam ready. Now you're going to kill off Rock Slide. Yo, Galarian Stumpfist is going to be deeper and deeper into the ground at this point, right? You nerf Mudshot, you nerf Earthquake, you nerf Rock. Like, you just make certain Pokemon completely unusable when they used to be top meta. They don't have to be top meta anymore, but they should be at least usable in my opinion, right? But I don't know.
I get it, but
that's just because I think for me, like I'm looking at the Pokemon that are viable, and just like you're like cutting out things that like I don't think if you nerf a Pokemon that gets to a point where it's completely unusable in a meta because it's just that bad, I think you did a terrible job of nerfing it. That's not a nerf. That's just like you're just like nuking it, right? Which is like I mean, some people that might think that's the good approach. I don't know, but in my opinion, I think that's just like sloppy meta balancing. I don't know. That's just my take, right? But
I'm sort of with you a little bit in that my prediction is that this meta is not going to be great. I think that there's going to be a lot of problems.
Dude, this Band-Aid's going to be infected, man. They're going to get some gangrene on it.
But what I think is that they're then going to have like pretty solid ammunition to sort of fix it in the next balance patch, like sort of 3 months later.
I hope so.
And so I'm thinking that this is going to be like, the meta was getting to a point that was pretty good. I think this is going to be a pretty big step down. It's going to be a lot of fun because it's going to be a lot of new Pokemon. It's going to be really interesting. It's not going to be boring by any means, but I think that it's not going to be the most balanced meta. And then now,
100%.
Because we've seen that.
This current meta is not balanced. Like this current meta is like Lantern Skarmory everywhere. Like it's not balanced at all.
Well, and we've seen this before. They make kind of big or little changes and then kind of walk them back a little bit later, right? Because we saw Noctowl sort of get like buffed and then like debuffed and then like, but other things became more relevant because they had the same moves. So like, I don't know. I agree with Steve. Again, like I think that this is just a big experiment, like a big experimental Band-Aid with a new sort of hocus pocus concoction in it, and then we're gonna get some maybe rebalancing at the end of at the beginning of the next season. Probably.
Now the other thing that's really good about this change is that we are moving away from XL Pokemon a little bit. So I know there's a lot
Azumarill
of
didn't
Twitter
get touched at
dialogue.
all. What do you mean? Wouldn't Azumarill be even more broken now that like you have like the things that Azumarill are facing are non-XL in the meta?
I mean, like in some sense, but I guess I was more just thinking like specifically around Lickitung with Licky Licky, sort of there being dialogue about Licky Licky being better than Lickitung, for example. Just these
Yeah.
Pokemon that
Well,
you
no,
literally have to
but that's
get.
what I'm saying. Like then stuff like so I get what you're saying, right? Like but the thing is the problem is there's still a lot of meta relevant Pokemon that weren't touched that
Yeah,
are XL,
yeah.
right? So then wouldn't their power levels be even more like out of control?
Well, I think they've buffed a lot of poison types. They've given some electric type buffs as well. So maybe they're sort of hoping that in
Mm.
that way they can sort of keep Azu under control a
Did
little
they
bit.
buff? They buffed Poison Sting by 1 damage. That was it. They nerfed Zap Cannon and they buffed Parabolic
Well, I think
Charge.
poison darks in general just sort of have a little
Yeah.
like
Yeah, because like by
Drapion
buffing
or
poison, by buffing poison sting, Drapion gets a nice uh little buff, and Clodsire again. You know, they both have
Clodsire could be a
access
little
to.
better.
They
Yeah.
both have access to Sludge Bomb. So I mean,
Mhm.
you have your Azu counters, your fairy counters right there.
I think in this meta you actually do see a move
Uh,
towards Sludge Bomb as well on multiple fronts, Clodsire included. And then Parabolic Charge. I mean, we'll
potentially.
we'll see if there's anything that's actually like going to be meta with that. But
Anything. It's just the Dene, right? Isn't the
Yeah,
Dene the only thing that
I
learns
think
it?
I think
currently
really,
maybe more Pekka will learn it when it comes into the game. I don't know.
yeah. Let me control F. Oh, Parabolic
All
Charge
right.
hasn't come up on
So
its
my
thing.
second follow-up question is I get the Band-Aid thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm also playing a little devil's advocate. I don't feel like as strong as I might be coming off on this, but I do want to get your opinions on it and as well as the audience opinions on it. So it'll be definitely the meta will be definitely very fresh. I think the first day it's gonna be like freaking wild wild west. People are trying to figure out stuff because the thing is
I can't wait.
because the entry values aren't released yet, right? So like
Yeah.
people could just
Yeah.
making an estimation.
Yeah.
Like that's what happened with Steel Wing. It wasn't as he didn't predict it, and I don't think anyone predicted it to be that good. And when it was, Skarmy shot straight to the top of the meta.
Yep.
Right? It wasn't even on the original people rankings. My guess is some of these there's got to be at least some moves that are inaccurately predicted because
Yep.
there's so many energy changes they don't talk about it. So
Yeah.
like you're bound to be wrong on a number of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
But so anyway, all that to say is first few days of GBL is gonna be wild, right? First few tournaments for championship series is gonna be wild.
Yeah.
Battle Frontier, I don't even know what the heck they're gonna do, right? Because they had to make all new metas for everything. I don't. Yeah, that's gonna be wild. It's mainly the point system
Ooh.
ones, right? Like the point system ones, like Great League and Ultra is probably the biggest ones, whereas other stuff like I think Annihilate's like highest point in Ultra League, and like ain't no one using Annihilate, right? As their high point picks. But my second follow up question is: yes, it's gonna be fresh, right? And it's gonna feel like a band aid, but isn't this what happens every time they make a big moveset update? Like it's fun, and then after a month and a half, people get sick and tired of those teams. Like people got so like when Gligar first got buffed, they're like, "Oh my gosh, Gligar's meta relevant. This is crazy. You can use a non-shadow, you can use a shadow. They're all good, right? There it's like so much different. And then
But who out
after
there
after a few months, and in my opinion, out in this past year, the best meta was that September to December meta with the Metacham, Gligar, Superior, Lickitung, like that meta, right? It was really, really
Yeah.
good in my opinion. Lickitung, Umbreon, like just a lot of that stuff. Pretty much no steals, but it felt really, really flexible and everything had a lot of play. But people got tired of it so much that they just nerfed a bunch of things or just
Mhm.
changed a bunch of stuff. And then the next meta was way more RPS with Chargeable Gligar everywhere and Skarmory and Poliwrath, right? Or Whiscash, I should say. And then, and I think the meta's pretty much been roughly the same since December 1st, right? Like, yeah, there's been a few tweaks here or there, but Lantern didn't really go anywhere. It just changes moves.
Annihilate was the
Oh
one.
yeah, Annihilate was a
Yeah.
big one. Yeah. But that wasn't even because of Moose update. That was just because the new Pokemon was introduced, right? But yeah, Annihilate. You're right. Annihilate was a big factor. But I remember there was like a stretch of 2 or 3 tournaments where like everyone's running. Like Elite ran this team, like JJ ran this team, and people were just so sick of this meta team, so sick of that meta. Even though it was a good meta, but it was only like a month and a half after Gligar was released and became good. And so I think these band-aids are, in my opinion, they're not necessarily that good because the the attention span of these players is not going to be strong enough to do it. And then they're going to just, even if, let's say, I don't think this meta is going to be good, but even if it's going to be a good meta, people are going to be sick of it in a month, right? And so my question is like, how do we actually like account for that, right? I think if they had more different GBL cups consistently, that could change things, right? Because it doesn't help when they just bring back all the same GBL. I don't remember, when was the last time we had a new GBL cup? I actually don't know. A lot of them are all recycled, right? None of the
Yeah.
cups in this season
They
are
are
new.
now. Yeah.
None of
they
the
are
cups are new.
now.
You know, as someone who, you know, was making a meta simplified infographic whenever there was a new cup, I haven't made one in a while. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But
Like,
now
that's
every meta is
something
going
that
to be
could
very
keep-
different, right? So, like, you know, fantasy cup when it comes around, totally different.
Yeah,
meta.
they really don't
Like-
have yo, that's a genius play by whoever's making these metas. They'll be like, hey, I don't got to make a new meta at all, right?
Yeah.
Even Great League going to feel different. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, so
But yeah, I hear your point, and it's very much like this isn't some big thing that's going to last forever. There will be an attention span drop. We'll get bored eventually. I think that this one is going to have more legs potentially, unless it like turns into a straight RPS and it's just Clodsire, Clefable, or, you know, something else.
Well,
But-
that's a big fear of mine because I don't know how these energy values are going to go, but like, you know, I think for accessibility's sake, XL Pokemon aren't like necessarily the best for the game, but they do provide a lot more utility and bulk and more neutral matchups. That's why like Lickitun's good, right? And so many matchups in Great League and Azumarill and all that stuff, right? But like the flexibility of these Pokemon are what makes it a little bit more dynamic rather than just like, oh, I have a Pangoro into a Clefable. What am I throwing here? Like, you know, close combat or foul play, right? Like
we also have 50-second switch timer now, so maybe that's, you know, that'll
True.
also
No,
help to
I think 50
artificially.
second switch timer for sure, like definitely helps make the game better. 100%
Yep.
agreed there, right?
Yeah.
I would even take 45. I think 45 would be good too. But I don't know. I'm apprehensive. We'll see how it goes, right? I could be wrong. This could be like the best meta around the corner. I seriously
I have
doubt
my
it.
doubts.
I seriously doubt it, but we'll see. But I think like I'm like for changes and stuff like that too. I think meta balancing you have to approach very carefully, right? Because we saw what happened the moment you gave Surf to Lantern. It just made the game way worse as a whole in PvP the moment that happened. Maybe a few months after, because it wasn't really Lantern still took a while to get meta, but and you still can't get rid of it, right? Now like you're like nerfing Spark, you're trying to nerf Surf, right? And so many things learn Surf, like Jellicent, all the like Slowbro, Slowking evolutions, like a bunch of things like Politoed. Like there's a lot of things that use it that are like kind of fringe meta in general, and they're just completely unusable now, right? And so I think I use that example to say like some of these things I think you have to be careful with, because I would hope that Niantic will roll some of these things back if turns out this is a completely crap meta. But we don't know that because they never rolled back Surf on Lantern, right? So like, so this could be like the next 3 years where like freaking Pangoro Clefable matchup is like the most boring thing ever. But we always have to see it because they're both hyper meta, right? But they're just very polarizing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
last comment from me, because I very much think this meta is not going to be great, but it's going to be fun for me. You know, just seeing things like, I don't know, Giraffary going on. By the way, met RNX Legend push at Worlds. He's, you know, also a young kid and
very young. Wait, I think someone said he's 13.
Yeah, 13. Youngest qualifier for the World Championships.
Is it because you can't be 13 for TPCI regions, but you could be for TPC regions? Is that why?
Isn't 13 the minimum? The digital age of consent?
I thought, but maybe this is a rule just in Poland. Remember Koxiak wasn't able to play at Worlds last year?
I think that's just Poland. I think it's dependent on the country you're qualifying in. If the country doesn't have like a specific thing, I think there's a general minimum of 13 because of that. I don't know. Maybe it's because Niantic's in the US. I'm not sure, or TPCI or something. But
Koxiak didn't even go to Worlds. I'm actually surprised about that. Like
did they qualify?
I'm pretty sure Koxiak qualified.
Okay,
maybe they're just gonna go. I don't know. But anyway, sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. So what was your specific point again?
Oh, man, I don't even remember what I was going to say. So can't have been that important, I guess.
Oh, you met Legend Legend Push and Giraffary getting buffed and something like that.
Yeah. But I think that this is going to be, just because Lickitung has been good, it's always been good. It's a good neutral Pokemon. Doesn't mean that Lickitung always has to be good. I feel like, we watch VGC and they have a different game come out every few years. And so obviously the meta super
Yeah.
changes.
But Landorus is like pretty meta
but-
consistently.
Yeah. Or, I mean, you say consistently. I watch all of,
Well, I don't know.
those
This is what
videos,
someone
and
said from
things
VGC told me,
change
yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
Things come bad, things come good. But I feel like this is the only way that we get that same level of meta shakeup in these big sweeping changes, because otherwise it's going to be the same level of, this Pokemon
I
has
just
good
think like
stats.
something like this every 3 months would be really exhausting.
No one
and
is
it
talking
would,
about
like-
this every 3
There's-
months.
Yeah.
This is like an
Oh,
every
no,
3
no.
years or 2
Well,
years.
but
Yeah.
that's the problem, right? So like if nothing happens in the next year, like
Yeah.
big for PvP, then that's like people get the same sentiment, except arguably they're in a worse meta, right?
Agreed, which is
than
why this
past
isn't the
years.
last stop. More needs
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
done.
This is this needs to be the final, second to last stop because
I remember things changed a little bit over the course of like the past year. Like you mentioned, we used to see Superior kind of becoming a little more relevant, but now like you don't really see it as much. There's
yeah,
just too
because of
many.
Skarmory.
Yeah, exactly. So things can shift and change throughout the year, but I think it's good to start off like the competitive season with kind of a big shakeup like this, and kind of forces people to reevaluate and participate throughout the year to kind of stay updated.
Yeah. All right, I got a one last question for you two.
Oh my god.
Prediction. All right.
Oh,
No matter how good this meta is or how bad it is, like we
Yep.
talked about it before, even a good meta people get bored of.
Mm-hmm.
At what point do you think people start clamoring for like meta changes or a new meta or bored of this meta? At what point in this year, right? We each throw out a number.
okay.
I'm saying October 20th.
Oh, we're going specific. Okay.
Right?
Hang
Yeah,
on.
Okay.
specific.
Let me look up.
Oh,
the
maybe I should
regional
look at. No, let me look at the calendar. Actually, yeah, you're right. If we want to be very accurate on this,
Yeah.
October 20. Okay, no, I'll do October 21st. It'll be right after one weekend. I don't know if there's regional during that time period, but
if I put up the wrong, how do we even find these suckers?
I think
There we go.
like in my honest answer of what people are going when people are going to start clamoring for change, honestly, is probably the end of September. because because there are some people out there that will just like complain, nonstop.
I think like
about
not
what
just like one
they've
or
been
two people. I
seeing.
would say like the majority of players, like even the big name players.
I think there's going to be some
I-
debate on that. What constitutes, when
Yeah,
we
yeah,
hit
yeah,
that
yeah,
point.
yeah.
Because Kaz is right. We're going to hit September
there's nothing
4th,
on
and
the
there's gonna
line
be
here,
some
right?
people saying like, "Oh, I missed the old meta. Right? We should change
Yeah.
this."
No, that's why I said like the end of September. I think
Yeah.
that's when we'll start to hear the majority of people start talking about like their grievances with the new
Hey,
state
you two
of the
talked about
meta.
how positive this is, and then you're
No, I'm talking about how positive I am, which is
Okay,
not
yeah.
the same.
Yeah.
This is
Okay.
us versus the community in general.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Which
So,
I think has a
this,
slightly
this
more
segment
negative
is
sentiment.
Kaz
Yeah.
and Steve loves this updates, but everyone else probably hates it. I think we're all on the
Yeah.
same page then at that point.
Yeah, I think that's essentially what
I'm sitting
we're
here thinking
getting
you
at,
all
yeah.
are like, oh, everyone's gonna love it. I was like, what? Okay,
I
end of
No,
September.
no. Yeah, I
Uh,
think end of September is when we'll start hearing the majority of people start to air their grievances.
What about
Okay, I think there's a difference between air their grievances and this meta is stale. It's like we're not talking like I want to go back to the old meta. This meta was bad. We're talking like I want to shake up. And I think, there is a regional on that October 19th, 20th weekend.
Okay.
I'm going to go one regional further, and I'm going to
Okay.
say November 4th.
Mm.
So it's quite a bit of time in there.
That,
I do think.
I think that's a pretty good estimate because that was right after JJM won his regional with the same team Elite did when people were clamoring for like a new meta, right?
Mhm.
So could take a while, but we'll see what Tristan has to say next week. And,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
hear his thoughts on it. Professor Tristan wants to be here for the Musa updates, but hey,
I know.
that's what happens, Professor Tristan, when you go on vacation.
Especially since I think he's kind of mentioned things that are
he mentioned some of
related.
these things, right? Did he mention like
Fairy
Poison
Wind,
Sting?
Poison Sting?
Yeah. Shadow
I think
Punch?
I think he's talked about all of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All of
I
these?
think-
Wait, some of these. What do you mean all of these?
No. The ones that we specifically mentioned.
Okay.
Fairy Wind.
I was like,
Fairy Wind and Poison Sting. I know
You
for
better
a
not
fact
been
he
talking about
talked
SmackDown.
before.
Okay, no.
Shadow
Again,
Touch
like
as well.
this thing is also like the Razor Leaf nerf too. Like I never use Razor Leaf first. I actually don't like that nerf either. For me, it's just like that's a very viable strategy in GBL. It's completely unusable in Show 6, right? So like
No.
it's not even relevant in the Championship Series format. It's just like people complain
I
about
don't
constantly
care.
in GBL.
I'm tired of it.
I lose to those teams all the time too. But I think there's something to be said about having that as a viable strategy in GBL and having to prepare for it. Because now if everyone's just go straight charge attack, like focused teams, the game becomes even more one dimensional, in my opinion. The game's already pretty one dimensional in many
But I mean,
respects, but
I don't
if you
think,
narrow down
like,
the strategies
honestly,
that people can use, it becomes
when
more
you
one
look at the
dimensional, right?
attack stats of something like Shadow Victory Bell, honestly, like a 1 energy decrease, I
Or
don't
one
even think it's gonna.
damage.
Yeah, 1 damage increase. I don't think it's really gonna even affect it that badly. People
Well,
are still gonna be out there running Razor Leaf.
Sure.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't affect it that badly, then why even nerf it? Right? Why not just keep it? I don't know. Again, I'm not advocating for no Shadow
know.
Victory Bell, Razor Leaf for strategies, but I'm just saying.
No, that's me. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm plus Mud Boys are getting super nerfed anyway, so it's not like you used to be able to.
I don't
maybe
know. Gastrodon looking like it might be good.
Yeah, Gastrodon's gonna.
There's
guy.
plenty
Golurk?
of other
He's not a
grass
mud boy, come on
attackers.
I
that
know,
are a
but
little
for
more
once,
flexible. Come on.
Golurk might should be good. I always talk about how Golurk is hot garbage, but it actually
Hey,
it actually might
it
be
was
good
good
now.
in that one Sylph Cup once. That's
you know
the
what?
only time.
You know what else has Mud Slap? Claydol. Here's that 3-month
This is
cycle
the
of a
one.
new Claydol buff, right? I'm pretty sure doesn't Claydol have Nightshade or something? What does Claydol have?
I think
Claydol probably
so,
has
yeah.
half of these moves. Because
Claydol has half of the moves in the
Yeah.
game to begin with, so
Yeah.
that's probably
It's
why.
finally time.
Okay, Claydol. Let's see.
I'm
Does
trying
it have
to
any
look
of
it
these
up
moves
right
that have been touched? It's got Scorching Sands, Ice Beam, Shadow Ball, Psychic, Rock Tomb, Earth Power, Earthquake, Gyro Ball.
Oh
None of
my
those have been touched.
gosh.
Confusion and
But Mud Slap,
Extrasensory Mud Slap has been buffed, so just a straight buff, nothing else.
Does it have Psywave? No.
Nah,
Yeah.
no.
I don't think there's that many Pokemon that learn Psywave as of right now.
Yeah.
Malamar. I know Lunatone does. 'Cause
Malamar,
the cruise ship is talking about
which
it.
Professor Tristan also talked about, is the Psywave. So
I
Tristan straight up telling the future here.
yeah. Oh, speaking of the future, we forgot to mention this. We'll go back to this later, but the Worlds for next 2 years was also revealed at the end of Worlds, and next year is in Anaheim, SoCal, and then 2 years from now is in San Francisco, which was kind of leaked by like some random employee, I think, at the Convention Center. Like,
Well, no, a publication went out. It's like,
yeah, because they injured some employers. I don't know. That person probably got fired. Yeah, but Tristan made the prediction that it was going to be SoCal too. He thought it was SoCal or something. I was like, what? We'll talk more about that though when we get to the T topic. But that was pretty wild too, just predicting that. But anyway, that does it for our GPL stuff. We should figure out some type of bet for the new season.
Yeah.
Do we do same
I already
teams?
told you. I already told you.
Teams or what?
I already told you that I'm gonna win with Ampharos. That's my personal challenge.
Yeah.
And I'm taking it seriously.
Yeah, you tell Tristan that as well. See how he says. Maybe we do same teams. We'll figure out some guidelines on what we should do.
Yeah, and also no, I think we should change up teams if we do that. If we do that bet again, we can't just keep having the same.
Well, what do you want?
Hey, I like the team up.
You want to be you and Steve?
Why aren't you saying yes?
Well, no, maybe we should do. Well, I'm just thinking maybe we should do the same thing that we did at the start. Is we should
see
look
who has
at
the
where,
lowest elo?
Yeah,
okay.
We should look at where our. We should look at where our. Because Steve, I know you made it to veteran. Like, don't you?
Although I will say I tanked because I was doing a challenge. You'll see it.
Kaz hearing tanked, and she's like, "Oh, I guess I know what I need to do the next few days."
You'll see a vlog in the future. I had to do some 10 CP battles for a few sets, so I tanked quite a bit for my veteran hit.
Well,
rude. But
okay, I'm down for that. We'll figure out new teams based on the ending elos. of the end of the season. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, we got world's number what do you call it? 49 on Twastell here. So pretty good.
That's true.
One of the top 50 players in the world.
Yeah, didn't
ain't
see
me.
Caleb getting any points, and he qualified. So
I lost to that top 50 guy twice too in back-to-back tournaments. So.
true.
Dude, what can I say? What can I do about that? Anyway, all right. Let's talk about some events before we get into the tea and other stuff. We have ourselves a Triumph Together event. This event's kind of weird. Are you snapping at your cat or something?
Yeah, he's trying to eat plants. I see him over there doing it. Come on.
No, I all my plants are on the porch because there's no way my cats would have just ate every plant there
Well,
is.
I know that the plants are safe for him to eat, but I don't want him to chew on them. Come on, man.
Yeah. That plant ain't photosynthesizing anytime soon.
I need the spray bottle.
My cats don't like the spray bottle, but they just get like sneaky about it. So instead of it doesn't deter them. What it does is when I bring out the spray bottle, they run. So they just know it's coming, but it doesn't stop them. They just know when I show this, like they'll hide under the bed. I'll just put this. I'll just put the spray bottle on the ground so they can see it, and they just book it out of there. They know it's coming. But
these are new plants, so I think maybe he's taking one bite and he's like, "Ew, gross."
Hopefully.
Yeah, but yes, Triumph Together. We have had like something similar to this before though, right? Because these costumes are not new.
They're not new. We had like because it was a little over a year ago. I remember because I think I was at EUIC for one of them, but they had like a Valor event, a Mystic event, and like a Instinct event.
Yep.
And it was, and you get yourselves like a ponytail with the scarf, a Lapras with a little bow, and the Elekid with the wristband. And me being as careless as I did, I was in this phase where I was just accidentally transferring stuff. I definitely transferred like one or two of these accidentally.
Yeah, I think same deal.
Yeah, because it's so subtle too, right? And it's like, costume, special Pokemon, XL stuff. Are you sure you want to transfer? I'm like, well, message shows up every time. It's always some type of extra small or costume or something, right? So I just didn't bother.
The little Elekid, I think, is the most like subtle thing. Like it really doesn't look.
It's hard to see.
That wristband has literally black and yellow bands, so like it just looks like his other arm is the same.
Yeah. It looks like no different at all. But the event starts this upcoming Friday on the 23rd, 3 p.m. to the following Friday, and ends at 11:59 p.m. So actually, for once, this event is over a week long. This event, I read through a little bit. I'm a little confused. So, global challenges take on Triumph Together events. Worker trains around the world unlock bonuses. Once the challenge is complete, special bonuses and time resources will be unlocked for the remainder of the event, and next global challenge will begin. Make sure to play during the event to complete the stuff. Okay, actually, no. I think I understand now that I'm reading it. So, there's a Valor global event, an Instant global event, and Mist global event. I thought originally it was like all Valor players had to do the global event for Valor, all Instinct players had to do the global event for Instinct, etc. But I think it's you do one at a time. So first is Valor, and you have to defeat 75 million.
It's just it's the team challenges.
Yeah,
like
but it's not just because you're on that team.
No. It's like it's a global challenge that is themed towards one particular team.
Yeah.
Right. So Valor, you have to defeat Rocket members. Instinct, you have to hatch eggs. And Mystic, you have to complete field research tasks. So each challenge kind of fits with like that team's, motto or whatever.
Although I know like thematically Valor is all about battling, but it seems a little funky that like, Valor has to deal with the entirety of Team Rocket and the other guys are just like, oh yeah, I'll hatch some eggs, man. That's cool.
I'm going to go to the lab.
Valor's, we're fighters, man. Also, in my opinion, in my opinion, I feel like that's the best challenge too, because you get a lot more Rocket grunts to fight and maybe more shadow Pokemon you can TM off, but
it doesn't say that
I sense a rebuttal coming.
No. Well, I just was checking to make sure, but you won't be able to like necessarily TM frustration during this event. You'll just have access to more. Right, You'll just have access to more shadow Pokemon in case you want a better one.
Yeah.
Um,
And you have to wait 3 months for the next one. But
yeah.
Yeah.
So it looks like the Valor rewards are obviously the Ponita with the accessory. You get 2 times XP for spinning Pokestops.
yeah, pretty
And
underwhelming there. That's about it.
and you unlock the next
Yeah,
challenge.
which
So
be
yeah.
So hatch eggs is half hatch egg distance for the instinct
Mhm.
while it's around, and then from 7-kilometer eggs, they have some special ones, like Grimer wearing a party hat, Slugma, which why, but Slackcloth wearing a visor, Litleo, Kamala, Togedemaru. I mean, the hatches are like whatever, but they're special Pokemon hatching for 7-kilometer eggs if you need any of
Well, they
those.
can all be shiny as well,
True.
which is nice,
Yeah.
when you have everything in
But
the egg
Slugma,
pool. Listen.
Litleo,
I don't have
Togedemaru's
a
newer.
shiny Litleo, so I'm going to be hatching eggs.
7-kilometer eggs. Okay, all right. Instant global. So what you get obviously the Elekid, but then you get 2 times Stardust for hatching eggs, which is like, how long do these bonuses last for? Till the end of the week?
I think till
Probably.
the end of the event.
Oh,
once
end of
they're
that. Okay.
unlocked.
That.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh no. Okay, no. Yes, that makes sense. But this is what like trips me up a little bit. Yes, 2 times Stardust for hatching eggs once you finish this challenge. But when you're doing the challenges, the only time you have to hatch hatch egg distance. So
Wait, what?
it's
Really?
so the it's
Oh,
only
No,
during
it
the
says-
challenge.
sucks.
No,
Yeah.
it says
1/2
During the
egg
challenge.
hatch
but
distance.
it says no. It's kind of confusing still because it says bonus active during challenge, but it says at the end during the event.
Wait,
So like
we're in the event.
right
Yeah, the
under
dot
where
point
it
says, like,
yeah.
for example, bonus active during challenge, half egg hatch distance when eggs are placed into incubators during the event.
So are they saying that the moment that the instant global challenge starts is when you have egg distance
Yes.
till
So I
the
think
end?
what we're looking at is kind of like a rolling set of bonuses.
So there's gonna be just rockets everywhere for a whole week, right?
that activate at different times. See, but
Hope
the bullet point in the Valor Challenge doesn't come with that same caveat that the eggs did. It said Team Go Rocket will appear more frequently at Pokestops and in balloons during the challenge.
Okay.
Right? So it doesn't have the same caveat of like during the event at the end. So it's like
you just keep the rockets around all week too, man. Come on now.
It might. I don't know. The wording is kind of confusing since some seem to indicate that they'll be around.
Yeah,
the whole
during event is
others
only
don't.
specified for the instant one. The mystic one doesn't have it either.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I care about these research tasks, but this one's 35 million research tasks, and field research tasks are like, I don't even understand the event here. I mean, like what are these things are? There's Tortuga, Archon, like Beldum, Cynical. Like I don't see like where all this.
It's as rewards for the research tasks
No,
themselves.
yeah, no, I don't understand how it's tied into the event. Like, what's the theme of these Pokemon spawn?
I
right?
don't know.
Tandem Mouse is the only one that's not shining, but that's probably the only one that's worth really going for to get more of the 3 family one. But yeah, there's a bunch of random stuff you get from that. And you get 2 guaranteed Candy XL for evolving Pokemon, which that's pretty dope. I remember that was actually the reward last year for Mystic. I don't remember the other rewards for other ones, but maybe it was similar. But that was actually a really cool bonus. I think some people were like evolving Cosmog and stuff during that time, which was a small good idea to Cosmo
so
them.
smart.
Yeah, because it's cheaper to do that than actually like converting the XL like 100 candies over. But that could be kind of interesting.
Yeah. So it seems kind of weird. It seems like we have kind of a rolling system of bonuses that will keep growing over the course of the event.
Hopefully it grows and it's not just
I mean, hopefully
you guys are done with the eggs. No more bonus. Just cut it off. But
yeah,
we'll see.
I mean, maybe, but maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Once again, I remain optimistic.
No, for real. All right, and then we got a slight teaser for the next community day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not even a teaser. It looks almost too obvious, but it's a
Yeah,
Ponyta
it's
community day. They tweeted out some
not a
video on it.
tease at all.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
happened. This came out earlier this morning today. So by
Mhm.
the time that this episode drops, maybe we have more info. But it's a Ponyta walking around, and then a Galarian Ponyta walking around. It's funny because I see your cat walking around in the background too, like perfectly in sync with the Ponyta. So it's actually kind of funny.
Yeah, he's stalking.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm open to it, right? I think Galarian Rapidash could be interesting. Fairywind is getting a buff. Body Slam's getting nerfed though, so it's going to be kind of weird on that front.
Yeah.
But
I think Fire Spin is also getting a buff, and doesn't Rapidash learn that?
Fire Spin's getting a buff. Oh, it is. Yeah, 1 extra damage.
Mm.
Does it learn it? I know it has Incinerate, right?
Yeah, I know it has Incinerate, but I thought it had Fire Spin before.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Asterisks, because I could be wrong about that.
Rapidash. Yeah, it's got Fire Spin.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, that seems relevant. Plus we'll have to see what move they give it, you know, because maybe it'll get a more interesting charged attack or something like that. So yeah, I would guess that that's probably going to be our September community day. Is that, you know, both the Ponytas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cute.
Anyway, we'll see how it goes. I mean,
because
again,
I use this
I don't know what's
podcast,
even going to be relevant, so I don't even know. But yeah, go ahead.
Teach me how this game works. What's the com day for this month again?
Poplio.
Oh yeah, that's the one. All right.
Oh yeah. Right.
Literally
Like,
the last.
Yeah.
Wait, when is it again?
No. It's
End
the
of the
last
month.
day of the month. Yeah, August 31st is Poplio Community Day.
Okay.
So it's next
Cool.
weekend. Okay. All right. Good to know.
Well, not this one coming next weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like little less than 2 weeks from now.
Okay. So yeah, we do have that. So we'll see when the Ponyta one is. But I mean, it's got to be just September, right? If I were to guess.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the tea topic before we get to any YouTube comments. But so like I mentioned earlier, there was Worlds was revealed to be in Anaheim next year, which convenient for me. It's like a 30-minute drive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't even fly there even if I want to. Like, this wouldn't even make any sense. But that's actually really, really good because, I mean, my trouble every year at Worlds is buying stuff and not being able to fit in my suitcase, and I just had to fit in my car, which is much easier.
Finally, we found what Caleb is optimistic about in Pokemon Go's future.
Hey, now I'm not pessimistic, right? I'm just hypercritical, right?
I'm just real. You're just real.
Yeah, I'm just providing the voice of reason here as my opinion. But anyway, we have in Anaheim, which is good in some respects for people obviously in California and probably North America. But I will say one thing, even for people that are from North America and US, if you don't live in California, like SoCal, wherever you could drive to it, the cost of Uber from that airport to Anaheim, from the main airport LAX to Anaheim, is not cheap. I'll put it in perspective. My Uber from airport to my back home, and I'm just in like LA proper, not even in Anaheim, which is further, was $70-something. It is not going to be wild if your Uber is going to be like $90 to $100. I'm just saying, especially during peak travel times. So keep that in mind.
All right. Well, I'm going to hope that I'm on a flight like I was this year with 6 other Aussies and we can just split the cost.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's one downside. But there were a lot of people obviously posting about this because not only is it in Anaheim next year, but San Francisco the following year. So 2 back-to-back California tournaments, 3 if you include Hawaii this year, Worlds in North America in a row, potentially even more because we don't know what's happening in 2027. I do appreciate that they dropped the exact dates and locations for both of these.
Yeah.
They could really plan your travels ahead of time. This all like shenanigans with revealing the date and stuff at the end of UIC was so inconvenient for people because the flight prices went up so high. Now, if you want to plan ahead of time, which luckily I don't even have to worry about this, but if you want to, buy your flights now for Anaheim, right? Like, and you can you can already just like start figuring out when it is. What was the specific dates again? Out of curiosity.
2025 is August 15th through the 17th.
Okay.
And then in 2026, it's later in the month. It's like I want to say maybe the 25th
Yeah, it's like
through the
towards the
27th.
end. Oh
Something like
wow!
that.
Funny enough, you can't even buy flights for that far in advance yet. But okay, let's say hypothetically, right? This is as far as it could go. July 10th, right? Or at least for Delta, right? July. So I'm just putting Atlanta because that's where I used to live, and also it's a Delta hub. But let's say from the 10th, so you land on that Thursday and you leave on the Monday, right? So and it's a weekend. I'm just curious how long this round trip would be if you were to buy a flight like right now, right, as soon as possible. And obviously, flights might go up for the world states and stuff. So yeah, right now, I mean, there's the basic economy is for nonstop flight is $448, which is not too bad. For
Yeah,
Atlanta
flights do
to LA,
change.
yeah.
Flights do change around like throughout the year, and
Yeah.
obviously different airlines might have different sales and stuff.
Yes.
But I mean, one thing you can do is even if you do buy it early, you could also like I don't know, buy like you can get possibly insurance, to cover your flight in case you do need to move it or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, what I usually do is I usually don't get the basic for Delta. I get the main cabin, which is like one step above that. It is a little bit pricier, but it adds to your total miles for your like your frequent flyer miles, which is nice because the basic doesn't. But also they're refundable in terms of you get Delta credits for it. So I usually always go for that when I'm like trying to plan out trips ahead in advance, so that if it doesn't work out, I just get the credits back, and even if it does work out, I at least get the miles on top of it. So it's like kind of a win-win situation. But it is a little bit pricey. It's like 538, right? So as a comparison,
Yeah.
but
You might not be able to buy flights right now, but you could possibly like start looking at hotel reservations, that sort of thing, because I do imagine that they would be able to book now.
Yeah.
And that might be something that people might start teaming up to, put together a little bit earlier, because sometimes that stuff can be even more difficult, like right up to the wire.
That's right.
So yeah, that is definitely something I would be taking advantage of, knowing these dates and everything. But I do know like the general sentiment that I saw expressed online was a lot of people kind of a little disappointed that it's going to be in California for the next 2 years. But that probably just comes off the heels of having 2 years that felt kind of special. Yokohama was such a big deal.
Yeah, there's been I think 19 total worlds before this, if I'm not mistaken, and
well,
17 of them
Tristan gave us the math on this.
Oh yeah, 17 of them were in North America. 16 were in US. Only one was in
Canada.
Canada. Yeah, Vancouver, which Vancouver is probably too small for worlds nowadays, but what was the rest of the math?
6 out of the 19 have been in California, and then 4 out of the 19 have been in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So California and Hawaii definitely, like, I mean, Honolulu still felt like, I think it's been Waikiki before.
It's been on the main island, yeah. Or not the main island, the big islands, yeah. But this is the first time I think it's been on Honolulu.
Yeah, so it felt like, I guess, different enough. And again, coming off the heels of
Oahu,
Yokohama,
sorry. Oahu's the
you're
named
kind
island.
of like, you're kind of like, oh, okay, this is cool. But now, like, going back to California, just I think felt like a little, step in the wrong direction for people. But I mean, they must get some kind of package deal, because they've done this before in the history of worlds. Having it in San Francisco and then LA.
I think
and then
size is a big aspect to it too.
Yes.
Like
obviously you have to have an event venue that can host, how big Worlds has become.
Yeah, because
it is shrinking,
even
to be fair.
Shrinking from a competitor standpoint. But my guess is that there's no way they'll just reduce it, because right now it's like every competitor gets 2 spectator passes. So if they cut out hundreds of competitors, then there's less spectators, right? But I think my guess, I don't know, I don't have any info on this. My guess is that competitors might get more spectator passes in the future, or they might even sell more spectator passes in general, because otherwise, like, why spend all this money in planning and do all this stuff and have like an event a quarter of the size if it's been in the past years, right? So that's my guess. But that's not a bad thing in my opinion, because then more spectators is fine too, because you have. I mean, if you have less competitors, you could take away a lot of the competitor seats in general and have it for the spectators as well, right? So more people can theoretically go to the event if they don't qualify.
Yeah.
More fans of Pokemon, but
And I do think from a spectator standpoint, Worlds is also still continuing to get bigger, because we have events, particularly in Pokemon Go, that are themed to go along with it.
yeah.
And we have bonuses at the venue, like in our game. Like you've got the additional Stardust and candies and things like that. So a lot more people are kind of like,
if you can play inside the venue,
if you can,
which
arguably sometimes you cannot, but hey, get out, explore, like, you know, the theme of the game. So I think they're doing, you know, they're trying to encourage more people to experience Worlds, like from a spectator standpoint, not to mention things like having an exclusive Pokemon Center at the venue, you know, with themed merchandise that you'll only be able to get there at this time. So yeah, the sense of FOMO they are trying to create is very real.
Yeah, definitely. Are you all planning on going? I know I'm planning on going because it's right there.
Caleb, if you don't go, I am going to be so worried.
I'm going to be so worried. Updates have me real messed up, right? I'm not even going. And it's right around the corner. But
yeah. So yeah, I am planning on going. I've already talked to some of my closest friends that play the game, that are more casual, and I'm trying to convince them that this is kind of like Go Fest, so they should come with me. And also we can do play bird all watching, the days there, and we could go bird watching somewhere else in Southern California, and we can go to Disney. Like there are other things.
It's super close to Disneyland.
It's like across the street, right?
Something like that. I think there's like a shuttle that's right there that takes you to it. I don't think it's like across the street, but it's like super close. It's like a very short drive. But yeah, so obviously some people aren't super thrilled about it, especially those that are out of region, out of North America, out of California even. It's not cheapest to fly within North America as well. But and especially for visa issues that we talked about this past year. But at least we what I do appreciate is that we have the dates, we have the locations 2 years in advance for even San Francisco, which is really nice. And yeah, it's I thought about this too. It'd be really goofy if someone from LA got a travel award for Worlds. Well, this will cover my gas.
Yeah, that's true. I'm definitely on team. Like, you know, this is a bit boring, but it also, you know, as you said, Kaz, it's sort of more.
Have you been to California?
I've been to California a ton. It is the city. It's the state I've been to the most. I've got family over there. I was like, you know, I was even going as like, you know,
good. Then you could visit your family at the same time.
Oh,
you've probably in San Francisco been there more than me.
Yeah,
you've probably been there more than me, Steve. Like honestly, because it's so expensive to fly coast to coast in the U.S.
Wait, you have family in LA or San Francisco?
San Francisco. So at least in 2026, I don't intend to be paying for accommodation.
Wait, actually, I'm really curious if you don't mind sharing. Is the majority of your family in Australia or in California?
So
I'm trying to wonder, like, because you're like literally in your own continent, in your own country, like nowhere close. Like, how do Aussies like? How does the family structure work, right?
So my mother's parents, with my mother and co, moved to Australia from the US.
Okay,
and so all of like my grandparent, like my grandmother, actually, my grandmother's like, you know, sister and whatnot are over there and such, and so, you know, but everyone from grandparents down in the family tree is here in Oz.
Gotcha. Interesting.
But, I was in San Francisco last summer, like just visiting a friend who had been living out there for a couple of years that I hadn't seen. And like now she's moving back to the East Coast, and I sent her this and she was like, of course. Like, of course they host like a big event out here when I'm no longer going to be like living out here for you to take advantage of.
Well,
but you know, it's back to the norm, I guess. Like Go's been living it up pretty good. Go's World Championships has been pretty whack.
Yeah. Yeah. No. They moved out there because of her husband's in the army and he was stationed out there, but he's
Gotcha.
retiring now. So they're like, they're not going to be moving anymore after this one.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
But so yeah, I mean, it's not like it's unheard of them doing this. I think
yeah,
that
it's
most
not.
of the,
Well, we could because we have the dates like the last time they did this, right? In 2016
Mhm.
they did San Francisco, and 2017 they did Anaheim. So they've done like these like back to back, just reverse order in the past,
Mhm.
and so yeah, so it's not the craziest thing. I think what did they do in 2015? They did 2015 in Boston, Massachusetts. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So I think most of it just kind of stems from like the high of having it in Yokohama last year. And then Honolulu also felt like pretty special compared to that. Cause I mean, it's been in Hawaii before, but it's not as often. So kind of like just returning back to places we've been in the US, like doesn't necessarily feel as special to some people. But I am absolutely certain that it's still going to be a killer event that will be fun to attend and fun to meet people at. And I, for one, it's a little bit easier for me to do, even if it's not as easy for you two. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be good. Yeah, the first Worlds ever was in 2004 in Orlando.
Well, it depends on who you ask. So Wikipedia says that, but Bulbapedia actually says that there were 2 Worlds before that. One in 2000, one in 2002. And the 2000 one was actually in Sydney, Australia, in line with the Olympics. So I haven't looked into why there's that discrepancy. That's like it says from 2004 it was held annually, but yeah, I don't like Bulbapedia's just got them on there. So
wait, what are the 2 years that Bulbapedia has for those earlier ones?
2000 and 2002.
It was also just a trading card game back then because they didn't have video game stuff.
So maybe it doesn't have them.
2000 VGC.
What?
I'm
so confused. VGC wasn't in the official Pokemon, or I don't know about official, but the stuff on Wikipedia until 2008 apparently. Yeah.
I mean, maybe they just don't include those ones because it wasn't annual. Like it was every other year or whatever. So they're just not included in the official record because it wasn't an annual championship yet. So
okay,
I don't know.
It says the core series Pokemon games were first featured at a Nintendo organized World Championship event in 2000. So
maybe because it was organized by Nintendo and not the Pokemon Company.
Maybe that could be the difference actually. Like it's not the Pokemon World Championships, it's like the Nintendo World Championship.
Yeah, it
for
was like
Pokemon.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so potentially, Australia was first.
We were spoiled with London and Japan and kind of Hawaii too, but it's kind of how it is. So I know people in Pokemon Go aren't as aware of this stuff because a lot of us, myself included, haven't gone to Worlds or even watched much of Worlds.
That's true. Yeah.
Before
a lot of people might not. Yeah. A lot of people that play Go in particular, because I think that there are a surprising amount of people that play Pokemon Go with intense regularity that have not played a lot of the main series games or anything before. So,
that's me.
So yeah, they might not be as aware of like how this has definitely happened before.
Yeah. Apparently, one of the first Worlds in Hawaii, I forgot what year it was that they did this. It's probably 2007 or something. They had 33 people competing in it.
Oh.
Or I think it was VG actually. The first VG tournament had 33 people. That was probably in 2010 or something like that. Kind of crazy. Wow. 33 at Worlds.
It's
I'm like,
so
who didn't go to Worlds that year then?
I mean, how many people did we have at Go's first Worlds in 2022?
Oh, that's a good question. But that was also like a half season for us, right?
Yeah.
For the other games, it wasn't a half season because it was because it was a continuation of 2019 season.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, that's actually a good question. Let me just see real quick. I should be able to pull that up from Challenge. Oh wait, what the heck? They have it's pulling up the LCQ. Dude, why is there all these LCQ stuffs?
Okay, this will probably have it. It says 47 Masters, 12.
Yeah, 47. Yeah, I see it now. Yeah, 47. which still not a ton, but not too bad either.
Mm-hmm.
But we went through. Didn't we go through all that in one day?
Nah,
Yeah,
there wasn't there
yeah.
a, or
It
am I
was one
thinking
day,
of
I think,
LCQ?
because we did LCQ on the Friday,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
then we did all of the Masters on the Saturday because on Sunday there was nothing for Go. We didn't have a
Yeah.
championship
Okay.
Sunday back then.
Yeah, I
I
remember
mean,
that
well,
it was a
47 person tournament
different
is not
day.
crazy for one day, right? But that's kind of wild too.
No.
Like to think that
Yeah.
all like we went from like one day of Worlds to now 3 days, right?
I
Yeah,
mean,
because our champion, like our awards or whatever, took place a different day. Kind of like how Unite was this year at Honolulu. Like
Mhm.
they had the Unite champions were crowned like Saturday night
Yeah.
because theirs was already over.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Except
Wild.
but Unite they still have a group stage on Fridays, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so it's even more
Yeah.
condensed, but yeah, that's pretty nuts too. I mean, I'm looking at these brackets, it's just like kind of wild just to like think back on this. Like
It's really crazy like how much the game has grown.
the fact that Dancing Rob even had 9 people to beat like nine sets in a row after losing like round 2 is crazy to me, but actually no, Dancing Rob he won 2. Oh yeah, because he had a bye right against Stone Collision. I
yeah.
think. Wait, no, Stone Collision. How was Stone Collision bye? He qualified to the LCQ.
But he might not have been there the next day.
No, I think he was. I think maybe just Dracovic, the team wasn't registered properly or something.
Oh, maybe.
I don't
Either
know. I
way.
need to hit up. I need to ask that Anacore dude what's up with this website.
Hey, by the way, he showed me his Discord DMs. Like he was scrolling through all of the unread messages. It was like,
Oh,
oh
I
my
could only
gosh.
imagine.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
what those were like.
Yikes.
But yeah, that being said, I think that's gonna do it for our tea topic. Let's cover some YouTube comments real quick before we wrap up.
Mhm.
But all right, let's see. So the NA Spotlight one, with some comments. Borstiff says, I don't know if it's been brought up before, but I think it's relevant in light of recent uptick in the availability of certain legends and Ultra Beasts from field research, such as the upcoming Worlds research for Corselia. It's been many, many years since having legendaries and weekly research rewards, and I'm confident that it's never returning. Shout out players complaining about how difficult they were to catch and join your Furfrau. But I would love to see GBL encounters change to be set to level 15. It would be a positive change that would directly benefit the player base that engages with that aspect game. It would improve accessibility to the meta legendaries like Giratina Origin. I 100% agree with that. I think that's a
Mhm.
really good idea. I also think they
Yeah.
need to probably up the legendary rates a little bit because
Yeah.
otherwise, okay, great. Guillotina's in rotation. I can't wait to get all my Guillotina Origin, and you're not getting anything. Also,
Yeah.
I've mentioned this in the past, but tanking definitely needs like some type of consequence because if this is a thing and they have legendaries like whatever, the week before Guillotina's in raids, and I know it's gonna be a GBL encounter, people are gonna be tanking so that they could
Yeah.
easily win 3 in a row, right? For their
And
sets
I don't
afterward.
know. Yeah, like I did a set earlier today and like I don't know why they'd be doing this, but I literally I think it was 2 sets, so 10 battles, and literally I am in veteran, right, in the 2500s, and I face nothing but experts and legends. Not a single
Yeah.
veteran or whatever for like 10 battles. I was like, what is happening? Who are you people? Get out of my rank.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I do agree. Like, I think that's a wonderful idea, and yeah, I would also second the fact that like, let's take for example, what is it? Thunderous is supposed to be in rotation right now, and since it's swapped to Thunderous in all of my battles, like I have gotten 1 Thunderous as a reward.
I don't
Like,
remember. I don't remember the last time I got a legendary from GBL.
yeah,
Forget
it's like,
Thunderous.
what?
Yeah.
Where did they go?
Yeah. The rates
What
are
else
pretty
are
abysmally
they
low.
doing?
I will say that. Honestly,
Yeah.
if it was like it was like a 20% chance or something, that'd be kind of nice, right? You get maybe one per day if you go positive in every set. Like that might sound high for Niantic, but I think that wouldn't be too crazy. It would really incentivize people to GBL too.
I think so
Um,
too.
P Soats, this is in response to the Tristan Healy's video. Says, dude, I'm dead. I had the pleasure of doing low level special trade with Tristan in Portland, and I was hoping it was him in that video. Sad it wasn't. I'm fretting and hoping we can reroll again next regional, and then posting like 4 like rollerblade or roller skates emojis.
We wish it was him too.
Um, whatever our next bet is for Legend, I think there needs to be something with the Heelys
Yeah.
for Tristan. Maybe
Yeah.
we all recreate it. I don't know, just so he could feel like we're not like
We
just
all have to acquire Heelys, and we all
something,
have to do it.
Yeah. Oh no, not
If
all of
we
us. So
lose.
whoever loses the bet, right? Tristan and his partner,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll think of something, but I think that would be. Oh, I showed Anacore that video and his brother when they're here, and he legit thought it was Tristan. I was like, that's not Tristan, right? He's like, wait, what? Like, let me play it again. But he was cracking
Like,
up, yeah,
oh my
because
God.
obviously he hasn't been listening to the podcast for sure. Because he was like, he was on Kashmir, I think, for like 3 weeks, almost a month, and he had like barely any like data and Wi-Fi and stuff throughout the whole time. And he was just like, yeah, he was just like he was kind of burnt out from the game and everything. And like even when he was visiting here, like it was a rock event. I was telling him and his brother, I was like, hey, you want to drive around, do grind some rockets? I need a good Shadow Magnemite, which I still don't have. And he's like, dude, bro, like I'll just sit in the back and talk to you in the car, but I don't really want to touch the game. His brother's kind of like the same thing. He's like, yeah, I have everything I need. I'm just here just for company, I guess. But yeah, it was he was just a little burnt out too. I think he's going to try to take a break for a little bit, but we'll see. Maybe the new moveset updates will entice him, but I don't know about that. And
Well,
then
he has until the end of September to enjoy them.
yeah. We have a comment from our last episode with the drafting. Michael Morgan, which my guess is Mikey Morgs, if I were to guess. Also because they start the comment with good A team. So good A
You might have
team.
clued that one together.
Yeah.
Just on Caleb's comment about his friends that are men having a poor sense of smell and women having a better sense of smell. The generally accepted theorem regarding this is that from earlier stages of evolution in Homo sapiens, where females were generally in the shelter with infants, a sense of smell evolved to a heightened level in order to identify threats to their young, such as predators, fires, etc. What do you mean? Oh, just a smell of a predator, though. Like, oh, I smell a saber-tooth tiger coming, or like,
Well, I mean,
I
if
can
you
see like
think
a
about
gas leak, you know.
if you think about how it works in animals, I mean, animals have heightened sense of smells and can like differentiate a predator versus like something that's harmless to them.
Yeah, but I feel
You
like my
know.
eyes would be most useful. I'm like, that's a
Yeah.
saber-tooth tiger, or that's just a
But that's-
mammoth, right? Like,
That's why we don't have it anymore, Caleb.
yeah, I'm like
Because
not
we
going
don't
up and be
need
like,
it.
let me wow, this is saber-tooth. I didn't let me give him a sniff to see if he's dangerous. No, I mean, I'm just messing around. I'm sure there is some logic behind that too, but yeah, that's interesting.
Kind of makes sense.
I used to be a psychology major, so I learned a lot about evolutionary psychology, and like some people accept it, right, and think it's like really solid, whereas others think it's like kind of like a sham aspect of psychology because it's like reverse justification almost. It's like, oh, well, of course women have better sense of smell because back then, blah blah blah. But if women didn't have better sense of smell, they wouldn't say that same thing, right? It's like because it's like
oh,
too
of
hard
course
to know.
men do because they have to go and hunt for the for the saber tooth tiger or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, of course
Yeah.
men are reckless in modern day society because back then they had to be the ones to tackle down a saber-tooth tiger for a meal, right? And like if they didn't have that sense of recklessness, they wouldn't have tried and they would all starve because they're the hunters, right? Like, just like
Yeah.
you can say all those things, but
Sure.
who knows? Who knows? But anyway, thank you for the comment, Mikey Morg. I don't know if I actually ran into Mikey Morg at Worlds, but either way, congrats on qualifying there, and we'll see how it goes next time. Do we have the numbers of players that qualify? Right? Is Mikey Morris one of the travel recipients for next year for LASC?
No, I don't think. I think it was Rick Flareon, Yusei, Z-Tab, and Bomatsu from New Zealand, if I
Yeah.
recall.
Oh,
That sounds right to me from when we talked about it.
What's your plan, Steve? Are you planning on going to LIC?
I'm still waiting on the Australian regional dates, man. We still don't have them, so I
Well,
sort
I
of need
know,
to
but
know.
we have the LAIC. Well, obviously there won't be an
Yeah,
Australian regional at the same time,
not
right?
on that
But
weekend, but like it sort
yeah.
of, it does depend on what my plans might be. Because there
Mm.
are, there's potential to stick around up there for a little bit. Because I think there's a regional before, a regional after. I think there's
Yeah.
one in South America before, and then one in North America
Oh,
after.
I see what you're saying. Like you're going like try and make it like a little tour of that. Okay.
Yeah, so it sort of
Mhm.
depends where the Australian regionals land to see. I mean, one, if that's even viable. But
Yeah.
then
Well, if you don't
make
mind me
plans.
asking, is your like work like flexible enough that you could just do a
Um,
lot of that stuff, or like
it's
some of it
it's
remote?
possible. Yeah, I
Okay.
could potentially do some work. I would have to like sort it out with them to make it work, but I think
Yeah.
it's quite workable. If it's like, I swear, man, I'll actually be working when I'm not at the Pokemon thing. I promise.
Well, something to know is I don't think LAIC ever has a Pokemon Center, so I guess
Oh,
that
okay.
aspect you're
Oh,
not
I
waiting in
mean,
line for like 3 hours
OCIC
or
didn't.
whatever.
I didn't really realize that was an IC thing in general, to be honest. So
Oh yeah, now that you think about yeah, I don't think OCC didn't either. So,
yeah,
but that is one thing to note. So we'll see. I'm really excited though when they announced the tickets for that, and hopefully they have increased the cap because 256 is not going to be enough with everyone around the
yeah,
world trying to go to LAC or a lot of people.
yep. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And I would hate for Latin players not be able to go to their own IC because a bunch of like North Americans, Europeans, whatever took up spots. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
but we'll
Unfortunate.
see. But yeah, I guess next week we still don't have the new moves. Yeah, it's 2 weeks from now is when we have
Mhm.
the stuff. So we have some time to figure out these bets and things.
Yeah,
But yeah, any
Professor
final
Ben can
words
weigh
from
in.
you two regarding worlds and everything this past week, or?
Mm, no, I was happy to be able to watch as much of it as I did. And I'm excited for the potential to finally get to go to one next year
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
since it's more accessible.
You can also push to qualify too.
that's
Um,
true.
you don't think so? Okay, for NA, there was like what? Oh, we have the graphic actually on from Dracovis.
75
Remember?
people.
Well, it was 75, yeah, but it was 75 like for the cap for
The
the amount for next year
competition, yeah.
without even including the
Plus
regional
regional
winners,
winners.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and international winners. So that is actually going to probably be more unless somehow like some other person from a different region comes for every one of our regionals and wins. But
Yeah.
Mhm.
but the total amounts of NA players at Worlds was 73 this year.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's technically easier to qualify next year. I'm just
Technically,
saying.
yeah.
Technically, but
saying.
I'd have to go to actual events for that. So it
Yeah.
doesn't always work out that way.
Yeah.
There were I know for a fact that there were 4 local tourneys this past weekend in Atlanta, and I
Oh
couldn't
wow.
find
It's quite a
couldn't
few.
find my way out to any of them.
That's
Yeah,
okay. Well,
so
you have a lot more time, and it's only capped at 4 challenger, 4 cups this season, right? So,
yeah,
um, I think you should like if you just go to like maybe some East Coast regionals, if that's easier for you, and you go to NAIC, you should have a
yeah.
pretty good chance of qualifying. I think because
Well, I was
that's a
supposed to
lot of
go
people
to
just went to one
NAIC.
IC to qualify.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was supposed to go to NAIC this past
Yeah.
year, and that got interrupted. So I'm looking forward to trying to make that happen
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
I know that in the first half of the 2025 season, I'm looking at going to Louisville. That's like the only
Hmm.
one that I think
It's
is
not too bad of a
accessible to
drive,
me.
right?
No,
It's like
and I have family there, so
oh,
that'll make it
perfect,
a little bit easier.
perfect.
And then if they have Charlotte and Knoxville again, I'll definitely go to those because
Yeah,
those
they'll
are
probably have some
super
East
easy.
Coast ones. Yeah, they just have Toronto
Those
right
are
now, but that's not like that's
yeah.
like
Well, they've
northeast.
they've
But
only announced like the first until
yeah,
December.
first 4.
They usually announce the ones in the actual 2025 year. I
Mhm.
expect them to announce those I don't know, maybe after LAIC.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, congrats again to Yakai for winning
Yeah.
it all, and congrats to Butters for winning the draft.
For winning our draft. Yeah.
Next year, I'm gonna win that one. I have a feeling I'm win it.
Well,
And
I mean, if
Yeah,
it's in a year
yeah.
time, you'll have 3 new co-hosts because we ain't lasting.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, who knows if Butters is even around at that point? But yeah, we'll see. We'll see if we can make it past the 1 year mark. But yeah. Anyway, thanks all for joining in, and we'll have Tristan on for our next episode as our things resume. But until then, have a good one and catch y'all later. Peace.
Gotcha.